What's good, yo? Welcome back. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanoz, aka Coach V. This is recorded mostly on October 8th, 2024. This is episode 407 here, and it's your 2024 Week 7 Colorado Girls High School Flag Football recap here. I'm going to be doing some talking here. Gideon here will be returning as he talks about one of the games as well on this episode. We have a couple games that we went to live here. Gideon was able to go to Mountain View versus Legacy. I believe that was their senior night, if I'm not mistaken. Then I would end up going back to Mountain View a couple days later there and go ahead and cover their game versus a very underrated 5A team in Douglas County. But between those, I was able to go watch Doherty play Colorado Springs Christian and Vanguard. I went ahead and combined those two recaps. And then to end the recaps for this week, we had a banger of a game here, a battle between two undefeated squads going into this one. Both teams 12-0 in Chaparral and Mountain Vista. After that, we'll go ahead and look around the state, recap the rest of the games that we weren't able to go to, talk about Playmaker of the Week. Then we're going to take another look at the playoff picture and talk key Week 8 games here as we are entering, I believe this is our second to last week of the regular season here in Week 8. And then after that, so we got this episode, we got next episode, and then the episode after that, I mean, we're going to be previewing the playoffs, talking about the brackets and all of that great stuff. So a lot of excitement here, but let's go ahead and hop into it. I'm going to go ahead and swing this thing to Gideon.
Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today's segment, Gideon, and today I'm going to be recapping for you the 4/5A game between the Mountain View Mountain Lions and the Legacy Lightning. That happened on October 1st at Berthoud High School, which was where Mountain View had their senior night. And let me tell you, most of this is going to be interviews because Mountain View won by a lot. The number one team in 4A just keeps rolling, and I'm excited to see what they do with these last two games that they have coming up next. But first, let's just jump straight into this game, starting with Legacy's side of this matchup. We start this one with River Huang running for 8 and then a punt by Legacy. Anna Martin was consistently getting pressure and got a pass deflection and a pull to help force a turnover on downs. But on D, 2 illegal contact penalties led to a touchdown, making it 0-6 with 2:35 in the first. Elizabeth Gazaway got a pass deflection, but then another touchdown was let in, making it 13-0 with 13.5 seconds left, off of a punt return, which we will talk about more later because it was a wild play. And being honest, it just got out of hand quickly from there. Gianna Schmidt got it to Rachel Jones multiple times for 7 to 12-yard gains, along with throwing to Kinsley Steele. But the offense would stall, and after Jones managed to save a touchdown, Legacy would allow another to make it 0-20 with 6:48 in the first half. After a 3 and out, Aylin Hernandez would get a pass deflection, and Lola Hen would get a tackle for loss. But then it was 0-27 with another touchdown with 2:56 in the second quarter. After it got to 0-34 before the half, the game would officially be recorded as a loss, but as they played the rest of it in the second half, Schmidt would get another touchdown, along with passing to Jones for the conversion, making it 8-47 with 4:24 in the fourth. Kaylee Schaub would also get a pick late on to help things a little bit for Legacy, but by that point, the damage was done against the Lightning. Honestly, Rachel Jones was the main player that stood out here. She was the one that managed to get the most gain for Legacy here when she was able to get open. She had some pretty solid hands. She was able to consistently get the Lightning 7 to 12 yards, which really helped when she and Schmidt were connecting. But that's that for Legacy's half of this game. And now it is on to Mountain View. So First, before I start, this was Mountain View's senior night, so congratulations to Loveland High School's Caitlin Little, Berthoud High School's Violet and Meg Hidalgo, Gwyneth Marks, Mia Artis, Ellie Harper, and Mason Premer, Resurrection Christian's Reese Peterson, Longmont High School's Kendall Finley, and Mountain View High School's Kylie Blanton. Those are all the seniors that are on the squad. Mountain View is one of those composite teams with 7 different schools represented and 22 players on the roster. However, in terms of the game itself, starting off, the Lions would force a punt, but after a 3-and-out, Caitlin Little had a pass deflection. Premer would run for 10 on offense, and then Kendall Finley would throw to Gwyneth Marks for 11, and then Marks got a 9-yard rushing touchdown. This made it 6-0 with 2:35 on the clock. Mia Artis would get a tackle for loss, and then Meg Hidalgo got a hurry to force a punt. Finley caught the punt, backwards passed it to Ellie Harper, who then ran it in for the touchdown, making it 13-0 with 13.5 seconds left in the first quarter. Finley got a pass deflection, and then Artis got a sliding tackle for loss to force a turnover on downs. Premer would throw to Finley for 36, and then Premer would rush for a touchdown, getting it to 20-0 with 6:48 left in the first half. Harper caught a pick, and then Premer got another touchdown, making it 34-0 before Little caught another interception to end the first half, to end the second quarter. And ultimately, that's all that she wrote on this one. Reese Peterson would run for 15. Marks would catch a 40-yard pass from Premer for a touchdown. And then Miss Macias would catch a pick herself to end it 47-8 for the Mountain Lions in this game. Just all around great game here by the Mountain Lions of Mountain View High School. Every player in this game, and really in all the games they've had, from Michaela Messias to Mason Premer to Kendall Finley to Ellie Roberts and Ellie Harper, just everybody was firing on all cylinders in this one, and it was really nice to see all around. Yeah, just great game here. You'll hear later from Simon. He was able to catch the game against Douglas County before he had to go back down to the Springs, but that's that for the game recap. But I was able to get some interviews with a few of the players here from Mountain View, along with Coach Tim Test. So I am going to start it with Coach Test, but before I do start that, I do have some acknowledgments to make. I was able to share the Test and Premer interviews with Will Cornelius from the Berthoud Weekly Surveyor. So thank you very much, Will. It's always a pleasure to be able to work with you and to learn more from industry professionals. So we're going to jump straight in first with this interview with Coach Tim Test from Mountain View High School.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I say it every time I talk to you boys. We won when we started. Just the fact that girls flag football has happened, the fact that we have this incredible team. 11-0 at this point, I'll say it feels well earned. The time and the work and the effort. I mean, we're still making mistakes and we got stuff to clean up, but if you can make mistakes and then immediately fix them in game, I've just never been a part of a team like that. And this is incredible. So well earned is the way I would describe it.
How has this team kind of grown, or what have been some things you've seen kids come up and learn, or you've changed even yourself, or how you guys approach the game?
Honestly, it hasn't been a lot of change. It's just been getting dialed in, getting buy-in. We've thrown a lot of girls. Only 2 girls out of all of them, I believe, played any kind of flag or football. Prior to this, Reese, of course, with tackle, and then Kendall with flag. I think it's just them getting buy-in and understanding that it works and seeing that it works and coming and putting in the work at practice and seeing the results on the field. So if anything's changed, it's just we're getting better. Our JVs, shout out to our JV 5-0, scored 139 points, allowed 0. So when you have a JV that can push the varsity to be better, it's amazing.
Can you talk a little bit about Mason being your quarterback? I think she probably got more touchdowns than anybody else in Colorado.
Yeah.
At senior night, when I brought all the girls up, I spent a private moment with them, and what I told Mason is I won the lottery 3 times in my life. Once when my wife said yes, 2 when girls flag football became a sanctioned sport, and 3 when I found out she was my quarterback. I mean, that is a girl that has all the stats, all the tools to be the biggest ego, the cockiest player, and she is the sweetest, nicest. She shows everybody how a true athlete and leader should behave, and it's incredible.
Well, I'm looking forward in this season. Next up you have Ponderosa, but the game that a lot of the state is looking at is Valor Christian at the end of the season. They beat TCA, the number 2 team in the state. Mm-hmm. What are you looking at in that Valor Christian all-around game, offense and defense? Well,
so I'll correct you a little there. So before Ponderosa, our first game on Saturday is against Douglas County. And that's going to be, that's okay. You're doing a lot. So they're going to be a tough challenge. They have an incredible quarterback, a lot like Mason, who can run and great arm. And so Saturday's going to be a challenge. Every game going forward, honestly, is going to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. Even against the teams that maybe are struggling a little more, and we don't have, really we have one of those. So it's like 3 of our 4 is super, super hard, and you never know that 4th one could end up surprising us. So we got to just keep treating every game like we need to go 1-0 every game. Mm-hmm. So, but because that's the question, is all about Valor Christian. It's an interesting test. We had 14 games scheduled. We needed 1 more, and Valor came calling, and we thought, what a great way to challenge ourselves for the postseason. So that's a big one. We can't let ourselves look too far ahead of that. I would lie if I didn't say that we're already planning for it. We're trying to, figure them out a little bit and trying to see what we can do to get the girls incredibly prepared. That's one of the best things that Coach Tank does for us, is that, man, he's obsessed with football, and he loves it, and he studies it. He treats it like a chess match, and so he loves watching teams. He loves seeing film as much as he can and preparing for it, and he's going to have us prepared, and the girls are going to go out and execute. So hopefully we come away with a win and just that momentum going in. I don't know if it would mean 15-0 at that time, maybe 14-1, maybe even less. Like I said, I'm not going to look past anybody that we play going forward, but I think we got the team that if they play Mountain Lions football, they play for each other. Nobody can stop us.
All right. And my last one. Before you guys did the senior night celebration, you talked on the loudspeakers about this is Team Northern Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I remember in the preseason during media day, you said that a certain district said they were a couple of years away from caring. What does it mean to you to be able to prove some of the doubters wrong about flag football and what it can do for these girls?
I definitely came in with a chip on my shoulder a little bit about that. Everybody has heard me say it a million times. 64 schools doing this year, and 63 of them are North Glen, Thornton, and Westminster, and South Colorado Springs, and then way up here is Levin, Colorado. So I was definitely disappointed in some of the other places because I'm like, this sport is just so growing. It's all over the place. The Olympics, we know about colleges. We know about, leaders like, I'm going to say the wrong name, Deanna. Shoot, keep it out of it because I get Flores, Deanna Flores, Team Mexico, so it's coming. And so I felt like people would jump on board. I'm definitely surprised, and I'm grateful. I'm glad that Mountain View took the chance. I'm glad the Thompson School District took the chance. But it's bittersweet because of the fact that we're the only school, we get incredible athletes from all over. 7 schools. At one point, we had 8. Windsor, unfortunately, our girl got hurt. We look forward to hopefully having her with us next year. So it's incredibly a special opportunity, but I got rid of the chip because it wasn't that I was mad. I was just disappointed. Take a thing from the parents. Yeah. It's like this sport is so wonderful, and it brings so many opportunities to so many more. We have 1,500 girls across the state that are doing a sport, more than was last year. And it's like, I just don't know why we haven't jumped on board. So I love tonight that we were able to bring it on this big stage at Max Mars Stadium. Obviously we love being home at Mountain View, but to get this crowd and to get eyes on it and see it's an exciting product. Even our ref, one of our refs let me know, he's like, I get kind of some ha-ha from the other guys about, oh, you're going to ref. And he's like, no, we love it. We love it. So it's an exciting sport. And you know what? Whether I moan and complain about what is, what isn't, people are going to get on board. People are going to get on board. They're going to see I don't know what the rest of our season looks like. We're hoping for that state championship, but, you know, we're not going to count our chickens. But I feel at this point, even at 11-0, people got to be like, wow, this is our girl. So props to Mountain View. They're our home, Thompson School District. But I really wanted to point out, you know, punctuate that Team Northern Colorado. Let's go.
Thank you very, very much, Coach Test, for being willing to stop and talk with both myself and Mr. Cornelius about this season and the impact that this season has had, not only on you, but on these players. Which, it was really special to be able to talk with you about that and be able to understand how your perspective on this season has evolved and what the difference is between now and back in August. And ultimately, the last thing that I want to note is, that just thank you for making sure that the record is always set straight. Sorry for the confusion on the Douglas County Pondo. You guys will all hear later how that Douglas County game went from Simon, but in any case, here is the next interview. I'm going to do my conversation with Kendall Finley and then my talk with Mason Premer to close it out. So here is Mountain View's Kendall Finley. All right, here with Kendall Finley of, well, technically Mountain View, but you go to Berthoud?
No, I go to Longmont High.
Okay, you go to Longmont.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's the first question I got for you then. So when we're looking at Longmont, I talked with Coach about what he said about what St. Vrain School District said about flag football before the season. Mm-hmm. You're making the commute every day to go to practice. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you to be able to be accepted and brought in and be a leader on this team of girls from so many different programs and different schools?
Honestly, when I first got invited in, I was kind of skeptical on the idea because, like you said, it's a really long commute, and I was like, well, this is going to take a long time. But honestly, being here and just playing with the team made everything so much better. Like, the atmosphere and the way we play and how hard we work. I could drive an hour away for this team, and I totally would. It's great.
Very good. And, I mean, when we're looking at it, you've had a gauntlet of a schedule, playing North Glen twice, and those are the only 2 losses they have for the year, getting in that Arapahoe in that tournament. But you've had a lot of experience going down to Aurora in particular for some reason.
I know. I don't know why they like it so much.
What does it mean to you to be able to consistently beat all these highly ranked, highly touted programs and then just persevere?
I think for a lot of us, we went in the season thinking, well, like, we're going to work hard, but there's been teams here that have been working for months and months, and honestly maybe even years, because they've had this as a program, and we were brand new. Like, we're just a bunch of these athletic girls that got put on a team, and every single week we show up, we work hard, we don't talk our trash, we don't talk crap, we just do what we have to do and just grind and work hard every day, and we get the outcome, and we do it in, well, we get some penalties, but we do it in a respectful manner, and it's really fun. I'm really proud of our team for that.
Good, very good. And to close it out, what was your favorite moment from this absolutely dominant win over Legacy tonight?
Honestly, probably our punt return where I threw the ball to number 10, Ellie. We've been working on that play for so long. We even ran it a couple times against Northland, and we just couldn't lock it in. And finally seeing it on our senior night, on our home field, like getting it done and watching it run all the way, that was definitely probably the best part of tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Kendall. That was one of my favorite plays of the year, to be completely honest with you, seeing that. I'm not even fully sure I can call it a lateral, but seeing that pass over to Ellie and seeing that go in for the score, just an all-around great night and good environment there in Berthoud. And to close it out with a senior who actually goes to Berthoud High School, we have QB1 here, the player who Tim Test said, I won the lottery when I found out she was going to be my quarterback, Mason Premer. Here we are.
What about your game today? How'd you do on senior night?
I think everyone played great on senior night. I'm super proud. The energy was just amazing tonight. We loved having so many fans out here, and I think that it really showed on the field.
How's your season gone? I think you have more touchdowns than probably any quarterback of any level in Colorado. What's it feel like? Could you imagine this happening in the summer where you are now?
Oh, I could not even imagine. I had a feeling that we were going to be pretty good, but I never would have guessed that we would be exactly how we are right now. And I'm just couldn't be more thankful for the group of girls that we have out here. They just make it so much fun.
When we're looking at this game in particular, yet another big Denver school that you guys have, for lack of a better term, trounced. What does it mean to you to be able to come out and perform so well against all these teams that, a lot of people might look at the names and say, oh, it's Legacy. Of course they're going to beat Mountain View. What does it mean to you to prove them wrong?
It means so much to me, especially since I go to Berthoud, which is even smaller than any of the other schools that we play with. But it just means so much to me that we are out here and we're not only competing, but we're winning the games and that we're having so much fun doing it. It just means more to me than you could even imagine.
How do you feel kind of heading into the second half of the season, looking at the playoffs? What's kind of the mentality like on the team?
I'm feeling great. I think we're all really ready to work. We know we have some tough competition coming up, but I think we're ready to handle it and kind of take that next step into postseason.
And a lot of the moments and memories that were mentioned, the most common one was going down to Colorado Springs for that little trip. And when we're looking at Colorado Springs, that's where your likely opponent at state, if you make it that far, is TCA. And that game by game, what are you hoping to learn from each of the games that are coming up?
I think our takeaway from each of the games is kind of how to play with more and more pressure. Since it's a new sport to all of us, we're not exactly sure what it feels like or looks like to play under such pressure. So I think our takeaway is just to kind of help build each other up when we're playing under that pressure and just play our game and not kind of like frazzle or get worried about it. Just play our game and keep our heads cool.
Okay.
What would you tell, maybe girls who are thinking about doing flag football next year? What would you tell them?
I would say absolutely do it. At least go for it. It is such a new sport, but it's growing so fast, and it is the best time I've had playing a sport. It is so much fun, and you never know where you're going to end up. So I would say go for it, 100%.
Thank you very, very much, Mason, for taking the time to speak with both myself and with Will. Not yesterday, but last Tuesday. We really appreciated being able to talk with you and learn more about your insights into the game. And ultimately, next up for Mountain View, I believe they are playing Aurora West College Prep on Wednesday, which is today, actually, if you're listening to this when it comes out. And after that, on the 15th, the Mountain Lions will be playing the Valor Christian Eagles at Valor. So we shall see how these matchups go. But for now, this is all you have from me today. Stay tuned for Simon's recap of the Douglas County game, but stay hydrated, stay safe, make sure that you're driving safe. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. I swear, keep your eyes on that road. And I will catch you all here on the flip. Peace.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about some of these games here from October 3rd. Thursday. There are only 3 games that happened on this day, but I went to 2 of them. I was able to go to Doherty versus Vanguard and Doherty versus Colorado Springs Christian. This will be a pretty short, honestly, I'm just saying, a pretty short recap here. Nothing too much, as both of these games weren't super close. But let's go ahead and start with this Vanguard game, the first one of the day. Doherty would put together a nice drive that would end with a quarterback dive to Neela Thompson. She would just run it up the middle to get them on the board there. They would then go ahead and run an end around to Alyssa Ramos, who would make it 7-0. Following that, Vanguard would take over, but after some false starts and drops, they would end up punting it. Not punting it. They would end up finding themselves in a pretty tough 4th and 18 here, and they would go for it, but it would be a turnover on downs as she was just short. Doherty, they would go ahead and take advantage of that, and that second drive for them would end with a handoff to number 12, Santi Keys, down the left side, who would go ahead and punch it in to make it 13-0. A catch by number 17 for Doherty. That would be the junior Leilani Daniels, would go ahead and put them up 14-0 early. Vanguard would go ahead and struggle here. They would end up throwing a pick. It would be a pick caught by number 17, Leilani Daniels, who would go ahead and set up this next drive, which would end with their quarterback, I believe it is the sophomore Neela Thompson, finding number 18 Alyssa Ramos on the post here. A perfect throw on the money to go ahead and make it a 3-score game. A corner thrown to number 8, I want to say. Actually, I don't think it's number 8. I think it's Ramos again. Would go ahead and make it 21-0. And this game would be over. Alyssa Ramos would get a pick 6 just a little bit later here in this second quarter to close this one out, as Doherty wins their first game 40-0. Just some quick stats from that one. Neela Thompson, 7 of 10, 74 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Also had 30 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown there. Santi Keys, their lead rusher, with 59 rushing yards and a touchdown. And then Alyssa Ramos right behind her with 4. Their lead receiver was Alyssa Ramos, 3 for 36 and a touchdown there. On defense, Leilani Daniels led with 4 tackles. And then this defense had 4 picks. Ramos with 2, including that pick 6. Daniels with 1 and Santi Keys with 1. Moving on to the next game here, Doherty would then go ahead and play Colorado Springs Christian, as this would be their last game of pretty much their last game of the regular season. They'll play a league tournament game here, which will count as regular season games later, but I'm not counting it right now. Basically, what would start out here is that Colorado Springs Christian would get the ball, but a couple of drops would end with them punting. Doherty would go ahead and take over with the 1st and 5 approaching midfield with about 7 minutes left here in this game. They would go ahead and drive here, but unfortunately a tough drop would force a turnover on downs on 4th down. Vanguard would take over, but they would basically go 3 and out, just not getting anything going for them. And sorry, not Vanguard, Colorado Springs Christian would not get anything going for them. This next Doherty drive would result again in a punt, as they start a little bit slower here in this drive, but luckily this defense is playing very well here, taking away a lot of looks for Colorado Springs Christian. Leilani Daniels gets a nice pass breakup on a deep shot on 3rd down, so that forces another 3 and out. Finally, Doherty, they take over here, and they put together a pretty nice drive. They would go ahead and hand it off to Alyssa Ramos, who would score on this drive to make it 6-0, and then throw it to Ramos again to make it 7-0. Doherty would then force another 3 and out, as this Colorado Springs Christian team just doesn't have any momentum at this point here. And so following that, on this 3rd drive for them, they would go ahead and throw it here to end this one. Neela Thompson finding, I believe it looks like to be, could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it was number 4. Sorry, no, number 1, Galacia Gonzalez here for a nice little toe tap touchdown to put them up by 2 scores here. The PAT would be knocked away though. Now, CSCS, they continue to struggle. Doherty, they would take over here, but they would not be able to score right before half, but they still have the 13-0 lead. To start the 3rd quarter here, Doherty would get the ball, but they would end up punting after some nice defensive plays here. Pass deflection by CSCS on 3rd would force that. But this Doherty defense stands strong and forces yet another 3 and out here. And here's what happens. 1st and 10. Neela Thompson drops back and throws it deep. And it's Alyssa Ramos who rises above the quarter, mosses the receiver, burns the rest of the defense, and gives Doherty the 19-0 lead with 4 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, and this game would be over from there. Doherty would end up winning 31-0 here. Colorado Springs Christian just never really getting any momentum in this game. Some stats here: Neela Thompson, 4 of 10 for 40 yards and those 2 touchdowns. She also had 1 rush for 2 yards. Alyssa Ramos with a great game, 10 carries, 52 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Also had 2 receptions for 20 yards and a receiving touchdown. Isabella Marquez, or sorry, not Marquez, it would be Gonzalez, sorry, would have that receiving touchdown here. I think it's mismarked on this one. On the defensive side of the ball, Kelly Zepeda had 5 tackles, and then Medellin, Wittenborn, and Neela Thompson each had a pick in this game. But yeah, got to get a good look at Doherty here. They got some good athletes. This is still a very young team. Alyssa Ramos, I think, is arguably the star of this squad, as she is a senior, and she is probably one of their primary playmakers for them. She gets the most touches out of any other player, but there's a lot of other very good players around them, like Isabella Marquez, like Neela Thompson, who made some big plays, Alani Daniels, who will have another year hopefully ahead of them after this one. But you know, this is a Doherty team that seems to be hitting their stride here, and they'll be entering some interesting league play this next week and the following week here, so we'll have to see what happens there. But Doherty going 2-0 to finish the season. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the game between Douglas County and Mountain View on October 5th, Saturday here. It's a pretty big game, as both teams are pretty hot going into this game. Mountain View obviously undefeated going into this one, and number 1 here in 4A on an 11-game winning streak. It's been a couple games. I think only one team has only scored 3 touchdowns on them, and that was a Mountain Range, who they still beat by 20, but they have not played a close game yet this season here so far. For Douglas County, got to watch them in the previous week here against Heritage, where they won a close one. They would then beat Highlands Ranch and Thunder Ridge there, getting some key wins before going into this game. But going into this game, they were on a 8-game winning streak here as they continue to rise in 5A. But let's go ahead and get started here. In the first quarter, Mountain View would start with the ball here, but they would go 3 and out. A tough sack here by Amelia Carter on first down would really set back this drive, so that ends up being a punt. Douglas County, they take over past midfield here. Not a great punt here, with the 1st and 4 approaching the red zone with 10:07 left. A diving catch right thrown by the quarterback Jillian Cabral would put them in the red zone with the 1st and 17. They would then run a hook and ladder left, which would end up back in the hands of Cabral, who gets about 7. They would then take a shot, it looks like, into the end zone, but a physical catch by the senior Kendall Finley of Mountain View would end up picking that off to make it 1st and 19 here, as they are backed up, but they do survive a red zone trip by Douglas County. And so here we go, Mountain View, they go ahead and do a quick throw here. By the way, at quarterback, Mason Premer, the senior, they go ahead and complete a nice pass over the middle to Violet Hidalgo, who makes it 2nd and 13. Following that, they go ahead and throw it right here to Mia Artis. That would give them a more manageable 3rd and 1 before pitching it right here. I believe that's a pitch right to Premer, who goes ahead and gets the 1st down. On 1st down, it's incomplete. On 2nd down, it's a curl thrown to Kendall Finley right to make it 3rd and 10. And then on 3rd and 10, Premer goes ahead and finds Jessica Hopkins right to make it a more manageable 4th down. It's like 3rd and maybe, I want to say 3 here. So there you go. Mountain View, though, they call a timeout at 5:06 left. After the timeout, unfortunately, they would fall start, so now it's 4th and 8. They'll still go for it, and here's what happens on 4th and 8. Premer goes ahead and gets the ball out of her hands pretty quickly here to Gwen Marks on the curl, who makes a move and turns it upfield to get the 1st down past midfield. A great play by Gwen Marks to keep this drive alive. They will then go back to Marks here on 1st down for a couple. Following that, it's an incompletion, so that brings up 3rd and 15. And on 3rd down here, Premer goes ahead and throws it to Findley, who slips a tackle and would end up going to the house, walking this one in, but an inadvertent whistle would happen, stopping that play partially. So the refs, doing the right thing, they go ahead and decide to replay it with a 3rd and 3 here. And on 3rd down, Premer would go ahead and just scramble right and give them the 1st down, putting them in the red zone. So red zone trip for Mountain View, it's 1st and 15. On first down and 15, Premier throws right to the curl. That's Jessica Hopkins here for a nice gain, making it 2nd and 6, and then it would be the second quarter. So Mountain View with a 2nd and 6 at the top of the quarter here in the red zone. They would then run an end around right to Mia Artis, who would be stopped short. 3rd and 5 now. On 3rd and 5, Premier would go ahead and catch the snap out of shotgun, looking for a pass, before just deciding to scramble, cutting it upfield, making some players miss to make it 6-0 over Douglas County. She would then find, I believe, I wrote down number 26, that might have been number 27 though, Michaela Messias, who would make it 7-0 on the PAT. Douglas County looking to reply back. They go ahead and take over here. Jillian Cabral will get this drive started with a first down with a run right up the middle. She would then take a shot deep, but it would be dropped here. There would be a lot of contact, and I think that's a pretty easy PI call. So now it's 1st and 6 here, approaching midfield. They would then run a triple option, which would end up in the hands of, I believe, Faith Turnbaugh, who would go ahead and make it 2nd and 4. They would then go back to Turnbaugh, throwing it an out route towards her. That would be Cabral throwing this out route, who would make a tough contested catch for a first down past midfield. It's now 1st and 18. On first, Cabral would be looking before end up scrambling left here, just not finding anyone to throw to, and she would get about 3 yards there. She would then throw a quick pass left here on the out to number 44, that's Nevaeh Goebel, to make a 3rd and 10. Douglas County would then call a timeout at 7:55 left, and then here is what happens on 3rd down after the timeout. Cabral drops back, takes a shot down the right sideline to Riley Covert here, but it is just over her head. So it's 4th down, and they're going to go for it here. On 4th down, Cabral decides to go back to Covert, this time on a dig route over the middle. She makes the catch here, but she is, it looks like, just a couple yards short. So Mountain View, excuse me, they take over with the 1st and 17 with 6:45 left. On this drive here to start, Mason Premier makes a nice throw outside here to make it 2nd and 6. Mountain View would then call their second timeout at 6:02 left. Following that timeout, Premier would go ahead and take a shot deep down the left sideline to Mia Artis, and it looks like it's about to be picked off here, but the pick is dropped, and it just happens to tip into the hands of Mia Artis, who makes a nice play here, a tough catch, and so a play that would have swung the other way and make it a Douglas County possession now makes it a Mountain View possession with a 1st and 1 past midfield, approaching the red zone here. They would go ahead and get that first down. Premier finding number 23 for Mountain View. I believe that would be Jessica Hopkins. That would give them the first down in the red zone there, making it 1st and 14. On 1st and 14, Premier throws it, and this route would be jumped by number 3 of Douglas County. That is Harmony Allen, the senior, but it would be a dropped interception here. Another dropped pick here for Douglas County. On 2nd down, Premier decides to scramble. She gets a couple, making it 3rd and 7. They then go ahead and call a direct snap here to Michaela Macias, who is stopped short of the score. So now it's 4th and 1. Mountain View calls their last timeout of the half with 2:58 left. And then out of the timeout here, they go ahead and direct snap it to Kendall Finley, who then throws it to Violet Hidalgo, who scores to make it 13-0. PAT's no good, but they do take the 2-score lead here after Douglas County is just not able to make the plays to close this drive here. Now they take over with 2:54 left. On 1st down, Cabral tries to scramble. It just goes nowhere. On 2nd down, Cabral gets sacked pretty quickly here by Meg Hidalgo to make it 3rd and 15 here. And on 3rd and 15, Cabral drops back. She's looking for a pass, but she cannot find anyone. She decides to scramble here. Gets maybe 6. She is way short, so they go 3 and out as Mountain View gets all the momentum here. And so here we go. First down past midfield, 1:14 left. 1st and 5 here. Premier throws the dig route to Kendall Finley on the money, and she takes it to the house, but it looks like there's a penalty against Mountain View for illegal contact on, well, would have been a block on the way there. Just a little bit too close. They still get the first down here in the red zone, but it is 1st and 20 with 45 seconds left. On first down here, Premier goes ahead and makes the quick throw right here to make it 2nd and 15. She then makes another quick throw on second to number 28, Violet Hidalgo, to make it 3rd and 7. And then she makes a quick throw right here, which is incomplete. And it stops the clock with 7.6 seconds left. 4th down here. Mountain View looking to go up 3 scores. And so here's what happens after that play. On 4th down, Premier gets a snap, and she throws a dot, an absolute laser over the middle to number 22, Gwen Marks, who brings in the heater on this one to make it 19-0. PAT would be good as they go up 20-0 here. Now, this game's not quite over. Douglas County, they would take over to start here in the 3rd quarter. On first down, the play would almost be picked but would be dropped. On 2nd down, Cabral would roll out right and find Riley Covert. That would give them a 1st down there. They would then go ahead and pitch it back to their, I think this is their utility player, number 20. So it would be thrown to snap to Kenzie Jones. She would toss it forward to the center, who would then pitch it back to her, and she would make it 2nd and 13. They would then check it down to number 7, Cabral, throwing the ball on this one to Aubrey Friel. That would make it 3rd and 7. They would then throw an out route here to Addison Lemp here, and they will be just a little bit short. It's probably like 4th and 3, 4th and 4. And they'll decide to punt it, which I do think is a little conservative here, considering they're down 3 scores. But, you know, Mountain View, they go ahead and take over with the 1st and 15 approaching midfield, under 8 minutes left in this game. On first down here, Premier has no rusher in her face, so she takes her time, and she goes ahead and launches one deep here to Kendall Finley, who shows her hands late and makes an all-hands catch for a big splash play. It is now 1st down and 5 past the midfield. They're approaching the red zone here, and on 1st and 5, Premier drops back, and she takes a shot downfield. This time it is to number 22. That's Gwen Marks, who goes ahead and brings this one in to make it 26-0. On the PAT, Premier finds Finley to make it 27-0. This game would officially be over. Mountain View, I think, would get a pick 6 here by Gwen Marks soon after that. But the final score of this game would be Mountain View beating Douglas County 40-14 in a pretty big game here. Douglas County would then win their next game after this one as well, as they continue to roll to 13-0 for Mountain View would roll to 13-0. I don't know if I said Douglas County or not there. But for Douglas County, they unfortunately go ahead and drop to 8-4 here. They would also play Pondo later that day. But just a tough go for Douglas County. I mean, that second drive where they dropped 2 picks probably would have been a game changer. That would have swung the momentum a little bit more evenly rather than Mountain View going up 2 scores. But this Mountain View defense and offense came to play in that second half and played a great game there. And they're undefeated for a reason, so not much more to say here. They have 2 more games in the regular season, but they're both away. So this Douglas County game and that Ponderosa game would be the last of their regular season home games here, as they are quickly approaching the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. They play Aurora West College Prep Academy here in a couple days, and then they'll play Valor Christian in the last week of the regular season, which will be a very interesting, let's just say, I think, a very interesting indicator of where they're truly at. But I just think it's really hard to see this team not winning state in 4A, if I'm being completely honest. For Douglas County, a little bit of their youth showed in this game. But, you know, ultimately, I think they'll be all right. They would play Pondo after, and as of right now, it is October 6th. That score has not been reported. I assume they have beat Ponderosa, but we'll see. Then they'll play Chaparral, their last game here on October 9th. That'll be a tough one there, but a very interesting game to say the least. So there you go there. But final score, like I said, of this one, Mountain View takes down 5A Douglas County 40-14. Now for the last game that we are going to talk about here that we were able to go to live, I was able to go to live, happened just yesterday when I was recording this, October 7th, Monday. We had undefeated Mountain Vista playing undefeated Chaparral at Echo Park in Parker, Colorado. Both teams going into this game 12-0. As the last undefeated teams in Colorado, along with Mountain View, who we were able to cover as well this past week. If you have not checked out those recaps, make sure you check those out. But this game was a big one here, and you know, this is a game where if either team wins, it pretty much all but locks up that #1 seed. Obviously, they got to win out the rest, but I think they're very much favored over those other opponents here in the rest of their games for both squads. But this one posed a threat to both teams here as far as #1 seed implications go. And for Chaparral, I would also say potentially first round bye implications. So a lot on the line for this one as we are here late in October, or late in the season in October for this one. But let's go ahead and hop into it. First quarter, Chaparral will go ahead and start with the ball. They go ahead and hand it off to number 6. That's the junior, Sophia O'Donnell, who makes it second in inches. On second down, their freshman phenom quarterback, Zoe Fink, goes ahead and rolls out left and passes it here to, I believe that is Salem Sherman, the sophomore, for a first down. A first and 10, actually. On first and 10, they hand it off to O'Donnell again, who makes some nifty moves here to get 5 yards. Then there's a quick throw over the middle back to Sherman. A little bit of a high pass, but she brings this one in to make it first down past midfield. First and 15 past midfield. They then hand it off to O'Donnell, who gets about a 5. They then throw a slant following that to number 50. That is the sophomore Sydney Matthews here. So that goes ahead and sets up, I believe, a first down in the red zone, just barely, but a first and 17 in the red zone. On first down here, Fink goes ahead and rolls out right, and she throws it to number 6 here. That's O'Donnell, she throws to number 24 here. That's Nicole Cook in the flats for a short 2-yard gain. Then Fink rolls out right and throws it to O'Donnell, who speeds down the sideline and scores to go ahead and draw first blood to make it 6-0 with 7:15 left in the first quarter. On the PAT, they just hand it off to O'Donnell, and she goes left and runs it up and makes it 7-0 as Chap takes the early lead. For Mountain Vista, they take over here, and it's Ariana Akey, the junior, in at quarterback. She goes ahead and throws the quick drag to fellow junior Braylon Looney to make it 2nd and 2. On second down, they throw it again, but it's broken up, so that brings up a third here. And on third, they go ahead and throw the slant. Akey throws a slant to Looney to give them the first down here, making it 1st and 14. On first down here, they go ahead and complete another quick pass over the middle. That goes to number 1, Riley Rivera here, the senior, to make it 2nd and 9. They then throw the wheel route left to number 12, that's Serena Reeder, but it's just a little bit off the mark, so it's incomplete. That brings up a 4th down here, and they'll go for it. On 4th down, Akey gets a snap, she throws it, but the ball is just a little bit too high, so that's a turnover on downs. Chop, they take over with the 1st and 15, past midfield though. On first down, they go ahead and pitch it left to O'Donnell. It's stopped for a loss, now it's 2nd and 17. On 2nd and 17, they roll Fink out right here, and she throws it to number 50. That is Matthews here, Sydney Matthews. But she's pretty much stopped immediately for a short gain. Still, though, it's 3rd and 13. On 3rd and 13, Fink takes a shot down the left sideline, and it's incomplete. On top of that, there is an illegal block penalty thrown, but that will be declined here. But Either way, it's 4th down and 13. They decide to punt it as they go a quick 3 and out. Now, Mountain Vista takes over with 3:31, trying to get something going here. But after a couple incompletions and drops, they also go 3 and out. So Chap takes over past midfield, a 1st and 10 with 1:57 left here. And so here's what happens on 1st down. Chap hands it off to O'Donnell to make it 2nd and 7. Then there's encroachment on the defense here called. So now it's 1st down, it looks like, in the red zone. Maybe there was another penalty thrown here, but either way, 1st down in the red zone. Now it's 1st and 17, but before they could run a play, it's another encroachment penalty thrown on Mountain Vista. So now it's 1st and 12. Finally, on 1st down here, Fink, she just scrambles left here, but once more, there's a holding penalty on Mountain Vista. That is 3 straight penalties. It is 1st and 10 in the red zone, and they go ahead and call a play action, and Fink fakes it out very well, rolls out left, throws it to number 25. That's Nicole Cook, not Nicole Cook, that's Abby Valverde, who goes ahead and walks it into the end zone. A great fake there, getting the defense going run one way, and then finding Valverde to make it 13-0. On the PAT, they go ahead and throw it to number 11 here. That's Salem Sherman, who makes the contested catch and puts Chap up 14-0 as they put together 2 very solid drives still in the 1st quarter. Now, Mountain Vista, they take over here with 1:09 left, but we're going to go ahead and skip to the 2nd quarter where they got a 1st down here. It is 2nd and 8 as they approach midfield at the top of the 2nd here, and here's what happens. On 2nd down, Aki drops back and she throws the post here to Braylon Looney, who gets the 1st down. That gets them past midfield. Following that, she goes ahead and rolls out right and finds Looney again, but there is a penalty this time. I mean, it's completed, by the way, but there's also a penalty thrown against Chap. So now it's 1st down in the red zone, 1st and 17. And on 1st and 17, Aki gets a snap and shotgun, and she throws it deep, finding a wide open number 12 here. That would be the wide receiver, Serena Reeder, the senior for them, and she makes the catch to make it 14-6. Now the PAT is knocked away, so it stays at 14-6. Chap, they take over with 10:54, looking to go ahead and make it a 2-score lead again. And it starts with a pitch left to O'Donnell, who gets the 1st down just barely here, but gets it, making it 1st and 19. Following that, here's Zoe Fink scrambles right. She gets another about 7 yards here. On the next play, she then checks down here to Jamie Baum, but it is dropped. So now it's 3rd down here. And on 3rd down, Fink completes a beautiful throw on the money on the corner out to number 50 for them. That's Sydney Matthews for a 1st down past midfield. They get a pretty good chunk on this one too, by the way. So not only is it 1st down past midfield, but it is 1st and 7. On 1st and 7, they go ahead and pitch it right to O'Donnell, who finds a lane and almost breaks loose for a touchdown, but is just stopped short here, 7 yards short of the end zone. It's 1st down in the red zone. On 1st down, there's a handoff, but it looks like she slips here, so it goes for no gain. That brings up 2nd here. On 2nd, Fink rolls out right, and she finds number 24 in the flats on this one. That's Nicole Cook, who's open, and she walks right into the end zone to make it 20-6. Now, the PAT will be intercepted, but you cannot return PATs here, so it stays at 20-6 here as Chap continues to pour it on Mountain Vista to re-extend this lead to 2 scores. Now, for Mountain Vista here is what happens. On 1st down, it's a pass deflection by Sydney Matthews. On 2nd down, Aki, she goes ahead and scrambles right. She makes it 1st and 12. She then finds Looney on the drag for 3 yards to make it 2nd and 9. And then Aki, she just scrambles left here for 1st down past midfield as Mountain Vista is rolling. It's now 1st and 10 as they approach the red zone. On 1st down, she checks it down to Looney over the middle for a couple. Then there's an incompletion. And then on 3rd down, Aki throws a quick hitch here. That is to number 1 of Mountain Vista, Riley Rivera, who goes ahead and makes it 3rd and 9. Chap then calls a timeout at 3:47 left here before the 3rd down play. And then on the 3rd down play, Aki, she finds a receiver, but it is dropped. There's also a penalty throw on Mountain Vista for a legal block, but once more, that is declined here, bringing up 4th down. And on 4th down, they decide to go for it. And here's what happens. happens. Aki throws it, but it's in coverage here, very well covered, and it's deflected and eventually picked off by Sophie Matthews, the linebacker, as she is stopped on a little short return here. But Chap, they take over regardless with a 1st and 10 with 3:30. I believe they are approaching midfield. Now, Chaparral in this drive here has the chance to go up by 3 scores, and as we've seen in the past, it is very difficult to come back from 3 scores, let alone 2 scores, as it is right now. And so here we go. Chap taking over with 3:30 left. Fink goes ahead and scrambles right. That goes for 1 yard. She then hands it off to O'Donnell. She makes it a 1st down and 17. Fink then rolls out right. She throws it to the flats to number 24, Nicole Cook, to make it another straight 1st down and 16. Now they're past midfield there. On 1st and 16, Fink, she throws it, and it's a hook and ladder, which ends up in the hands of number 6, O'Donnell, who goes down the right sideline and almost gets loose again, but she is stopped just a little bit short here. So now it's 1st and 20 in the red zone. On 1st down, there's a deflection here from Mountain Vista. That's Riley Rivera, so that's incomplete there. Then on 2nd, Fink rolls out right, throws it to number 25, Abby Valverde, in the flat here for a couple. Chap then calls a timeout at 52 seconds left. When they come out of that timeout, it's 3rd down and 15 here, and Fink, she scrambles right, only is able to get about 5 yards here, so that brings up 4th and 10, as Chap is looking to go up 3 scores, so a key 4th down here. On 4th down, Zoe Fink gets the snap. She's looking towards the corner. She throws it left to number 11, Salem Sherman, but she is very well covered. It's double coverage. I think if she ran just a little bit farther to the edge of the end zone here near the sideline, maybe she would have had a better chance, but like I said, well covered. That is a turnover on downs. Now, Vista, they have 41 seconds left, but they're really not able to get anything going. Drop pass on a deep bomb would be kind of tough there, because that would have really put them in business. But eventually they go 3 and out. Now, Chap, they take over with 20 seconds left. They would not be able to score here. And so going into the second half here, Chaparral with a 20-6 lead over Mountain Vista here, as Mountain Vista has just kind of struggled to get some things going on offense. And then defensively, a couple of missed flagpoles have really hurt them here, specifically Sophia O'Donnell putting in a lot of work. But in the 3rd quarter, Mountain Vista, they start with the ball here, a key drive. If you want to get back into this game, they absolutely got to score here. And so here is what happens on 1st down for Mountain Vista. They go ahead and throw it. It's Aki throwing a quick out, right? That goes for a 1st down. On the next play, Aki scrambles left before cutting back and almost going to the house if it wasn't for a diving pull here that would have potentially saved a touchdown there. And so she stopped short, but they also throw holding on the defense here, so I think that's going to be tagged on. Holding, as in the defender was holding on to Aki's shirt instead of the flag there. And so now it's a 1st down past midfield, a 1st and 2 as they approach the red zone. Like I said, Aki almost getting loose there, and we know that she's a dangerous scrambler as well as thrower. But 1st and 2, they go ahead and throw the quick out here. That goes to number 15, Isabella Valent, or I want to say that's how you say it, Valent, the senior. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, but she goes ahead and gets the 1st down in the red zone. Following that, Aki gets a snap. She goes right. She throws a little jump pass back to Valent here, but she kind of takes a hit from a Chaparral defender. I mean, she absorbs the hit, so she's totally fine. The Chap defender taking on the majority of that. Obviously, a penalty's thrown, therefore illegal contact on the defense. So now it's 1st and 3 in the red zone. And on 1st and 3, Aki rolls right. She throws the quick pass to Braylon Looney to cut into this lead and make it a 1-score game, 20-12 here. And it would stay that way as the PAT would be no good. But Mountain Vista pulling close in this one. Chap taking over with 10:43 left, looking to potentially re-extend this drive. But on 1st down, O'Donnell gets the handoff here, and she is stopped for a loss. A great job by the pair of Mountain Vista defenders there. They then throw the slant to Jamie Baum, but she's stopped short of the 1st down. It's now 3rd and inches. They would then get that 1st down, throwing the slant to number 50, Sydney Matthews there, to keep this drive alive. On first down, Fink would roll out right here and throw it to O'Donnell, who almost goes to the house once more, but her flag does get pulled here just past midfield, so it's first down. On first down, though, there's a drop that brings up 2nd and 18. They then hand it off to O'Donnell, who goes up the middle, but she's stopped for a short gain, maybe 3 yards here. They will then run a play action here, and then Fink sets her feet. She goes deep down the right sideline to Jamie Baum, who's in 101, and she has a step, and it's a dot, but once more, it is dropped here. A potential touchdown, if not at least a big-time first down that would have put them in the red zone. So that brings up 4th down, and instead of Chap potentially getting a red zone look here and a touchdown look, they will punt it to Mountain Vista. This is a big stop for Mountain Vista here as they take over with a 1st and 1 with 6:39 left. Now, it wouldn't stay 1st and 1 for long as Aki finds Looney, who goes ahead and spins out of a tackle before being forced out of bounds. That gets them a 1st down. Aki would then throw the curl here to Serena Reeder to give them a couple more yards. And Mountain Vista's going hurry up, by the way, so I'm not able to get the exact yardage on each down. So just keep that in mind. But on 2nd down here, Aki rolls out right, and she throws it back to number 12, basically on the same looking concept. That's a 1st down past midfield. Like I said, team is going hurry up here, so they're rushing to the line, but a false start would unfortunately now make it 1st and 20. On first down, it would be incomplete. On 2nd down, Aki would just scramble right. She would get about 4 yards here, bring up 3rd. And then on 3rd and 16, Aki, she throws the pass here, but it is incomplete, just off the mark. And so Mountain Vista has to punt. And Chap, they get another opportunity to potentially go up 2 scores here with 4 minutes left. But 4 minutes left, 1st and 10 here. Fink rolls out right. She decides to scramble here, but she gets basically no gain there. Then on 2nd down, she rolls out right again. This time, she throws it to number 24 in the flat. That is Nicole Cook, who breaks a tackle and does get the 1st down. So 1st and 7 approaching midfield here. Fink gets a snap in shotgun. She checks it down over the middle to Abby Valverde, but there is a penalty here. I don't know what it was because it was waved away, so it doesn't matter. So 2nd and 1 here. They go ahead and hand it off to O'Donnell up the middle, who looks like she gets the 1st, but they call an illegal block penalty on Chap. So now it's 2nd and 10 here. So 2nd down here, Fink, she rolls out left and she throws it, but this pass is almost jumped by number 5 of Mountain Vista and returned, but it would just be dropped here, not quite able to bring it in before she runs. That's Emily Wilms, who makes the big time pass deflection there. So even though that's tough, it brings up a 3rd down opportunity, but another penalty will be thrown on Chap for a legal block, so obviously they're going to take that. So it's a repeat of 2nd down, but it's 2nd and 20 here. And on 2nd and 20, Fink rolls out left, and she tries to look for an open receiver, but it's well covered, so she just throws it away. On 3rd and 20, they attempt a hook and ladder here, but that would be snuffed out by number 17 of Mountain Vista, Lauren Culebro, I want to say the sophomore, who stops that for not a loss, but for a minimal gain there, and so they are forced to punt it on 4th down. Now Mountain Vista on the return here, they go ahead and pitch it to Aki, who goes right and jukes the defender and almost breaks loose, but there's some extra contact on the flagpole at the end of this return here, so that'll add on some extra yards, making it 1st and 5 past midfield, approaching the red zone with 49 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter. And so here we go on 1st down. Aki gets a snap and she takes a shot deep, and it's a diving catch by number 12 here. That is Serena Reeder, who makes an excellent catch here, just diving as Aki threads the needle and Reeder makes the play, reaching out over, but she is stopped just short. They are in the red zone here, but it is a 1st and 1. Very close. A lot of different plays you could call here, as Reeder just makes an excellent play down that left side there. And they go hurry up here. And on 1st and 1 in the red zone here, Aki throws the quick out here to number 15, Isabel Valent here, who makes the catch and makes it 20-18 here, as Mountain Vista pulls that much closer, only 2 points away from tying it. And so they go for 2 here, but the PAT would not be good. But still, though, Mountain Vista with the chance, if they get the ball back and stop, well, they got to stop Chap, but if they get the ball back, they would have a chance to score here, and there's still 38 seconds left here in the third quarter. And so let's go ahead and get to this next drive, but let's go and fast forward a couple plays as it is the fourth quarter. Chap does end up getting a first down here, and it's 2nd and 16. On 2nd and 16 here, Fink goes ahead and runs a little play action and throws a slant to Sydney Matthews here, but that is stopped by Braylon Looney for a very small gain, maybe 2 or 3 yards. That brings up third down here, and Fink takes a shot down the right sideline. She has an open receiver in 1-on-1, but she is not quite able to catch up to this ball, slightly overthrown here. And so just like that, they are now in a 4th down situation, 4th and 16, and Chap is forced to punt as Mountain Vista takes over with a 1st and 17, an opportunity to now retake the lead and complete the comeback. You got to remember, they were down 20-6 at halftime, but coming out firing here in the second half. And so here we go on first down. Mountain Vista, like I said, with a lot of momentum here. Aki drops back, but she would be sacked by number 46, Molly McWilliams, the rusher, to start this drive. So now it's 2nd and 20 here as they approach midfield. And so that does calm some things down here for Chap and get them to settle a little bit. But on 2nd and 20, Aki throws the quick out right to Reader. That makes it 3rd and 15, a little bit more manageable there. Following that, she goes back to Reader on 3rd and 15, this time on a post route, and she kind of gets thrown down here, Reader, that is. And so that's an obvious penalty. They'll tag on to that gain. She would have already got the first down. So now it's 1st and 10 past midfield. On 1st and 10, Aki will then roll out right and just decide to scramble down the left sideline. She gets about 7 on that one. She would then roll out, this time throwing to number 12, Reader, rolling out left and doing this, by the way, to make it 1st down in the red zone, 1st and 17. Mountain Vista with a chance to take the lead for the first time today here. On 1st down, in the red zone, they would go ahead and run the same play that got them in there, going back to number 12, Reader, who slips a defender and almost scores here, but she stopped short, so it's 2nd and 5. They go hurry up here, and they go ahead and throw the out route, this time to Reader again, who slips a defender and retakes the lead for Mountain Vista to make it 24-20 with 8:04 left here. Mountain Vista completing the comeback, but can they hold on? Now the PAT would be picked, like I said, can't be returned here, so it's still a 1-score. I mean, it would have been a 1-score game regardless. Now Chap, they take over down 4 points here. Here is what happens on 1st down. Fink finds Bomb on the slant. That gives them a 1st down, just barely, but a 1st and 20. On 1st and 20, Fink goes right here and just decides to scramble to make it 2nd and 13. She then throws the out route following that play to number 24, Nicole Cook, who makes it 3rd and 10. And then on 3rd down, Fink takes a shot down the left sideline here and has an open player, but once more, it is overthrown here. And so that'll be a punt, and Mountain Vista, they take over with a 1st and 10 with 5:56 left, approaching midfield. Now, you got to remember, Mountain Vista just retook the lead, so this would be an opportunity to go ahead and finalize this win potentially and dagger Chaparral. And so key play or key drive here for Mountain Vista. On 1st down, Aki throws the curl left to Riley Rivera. She makes it 2nd and 7. She then throws the out route to number 12 here, Reader, who goes left, and she dives for this one for the 1st down, almost getting it, I think, but a penalty is thrown, which is eventually declined, so that'll go ahead and put them in a solid spot. It's not a 1st down, but it is like 3rd and inches. They will then throw a quick out route to Reader again on the same side. That would actually give them the 1st down past midfield. And so Mountain Vista's rolling here, looking to go up 2 scores. But then on 1st down, Aki drops back, and she will get sacked by Addison Landgren here. A big play for Chap, making it 2nd and 18. On 2nd down here, Aki gets a snap. She's looking. She decides to scramble. She finds the lane. She turns it upfield. She's going left, down the left sideline. Hops here, trying to avoid a defender, but is just barely out of bounds here on what is an electric play that would have been an absolute backbreaker. Still does feel like a little bit of a backbreaker here, as that play would put Mountain Vista in the red zone on the 5-yard line. Mountain Vista looking for a knockout punch. On first down here, the pass would be deflected at the line here. I believe that would be Paige Fink here, the fellow freshman and sister of Zoe Fink, that would make the play, calming things down. So now it's second down. On second down, Aki throws it. This one's incomplete off the mark. That brings up third down. But before we could have a play here, Chap goes ahead and calls a timeout at 2:08 left. So here we go, 3rd and 5 here. Chap needing a goal line stand, and Aki looking for the dagger. She goes ahead, gets snapped, rolls out right, and throws the out, but it is deflected once more by a Chap defender. So now it is 4th down with 1:51 left. Mountain Vista decides to call a timeout here to talk about it. Like I said, this would be a knockout blow, and then here is what happens outside of the timeout. 4th down on the 5-yard line in the red zone. Ariana Aki takes a snap, and she throws a dot to, you guessed it, number 12. That's Serena Reeder, the senior, who toe taps this one near the front left pylon to make it 30-20 with 1:50 left. They would then go ahead and throw the PAT here to Isabel Valent, who would make it 31-20. This game is over. There's no onside kicks pretty much in flag football, and so Chap, they take over, looking to maybe score a touchdown and maybe score to make it look better for RPI, but unfortunately they are not able to get anything going. They would force a turnover on downs, Mountain Vista would, and then Mountain Vista would go ahead and leave this one out, as they remain the only undefeated team in 5A, 13-0, 13 straight wins here, and handing Chaparral their first loss of the season in that same amount of games here, as the final score of this one would be Mountain Vista completing the comeback here and winning 31-20. Now, oh my god, this was a thriller of a game, and I think there are some big implications in this game here, not only for playoff seeding, but I would also say end of the year awards. I will say this, I gotta pull up this text message, but you know, I was updating the guys in the group chat, in the podcast group chat, that is, about this game here, and it's Echo Park, so there's like no updates at all, like not great internet, so this is like the only way that these guys could get this update. But I basically said at halftime, hey, Chaps up 20-6 here. Mountain Vista survived a red zone scare that almost put them down 3 scores here, and then I said there were a lot of drops by Mountain Vista, and then I gotta shout out the homie Gino, because he said this, and then excuse my language, he said, "Goddamn, Simon, you are about to witness another classic." Now, mind you, Chap is leading 20-6, and Mountain Vista just barely got away from going down 3 scores. They almost scored there to go up at least 26-6. And so I said to Gino, I'm not going to lie, this game is a lot closer to a blowout than that. But we'll see, though. So we'll see what happens. And then Gino just replies back with, if that legend game tells us anything, ... And then that's it. And so shout out to Gino, man. He called it. He had a lot of belief in Mountain Vista in this game. And it's not that I didn't have any belief, but at the moment it looked pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. Just key takeaways from this one. Chaparral, they got out to a pretty quick start. You know, they scored on 2 of their first 3 drives, and that's just tough. I mean, it wasn't anything flashy. No, like, big splash plays, like over 20 yards, I don't think. A lot of like 10 and 15 yard plays though, and they were just very methodical in their scores, and they found themselves up 20-6 in that half. And then in the second half, I mean, they just couldn't get too much going there. They had some deep shots, I will say that. They had a number of deep shots that were maybe a step off the mark, and if they were on the mark, they either would have went for a touchdown or would have resulted in some end zone shots there and some potential scores, right? You can't mark that out at all. And I would even say on that red zone trip in the second quarter, where it came to 4th down and Fink threw that corner out there, it looked like a good ball. If the receiver kept running just a little bit more, it would have been a tough toe tap catch, but she would have had to make the over-the-shoulder catch, and it looked like a good ball. And if she was maybe just a step quicker there or did not slow down for that half second, it might have been there, and Mountain Vista would have been looking at coming back from 26-6, which is obviously tough because there's not as many drives in flag football. You have running clock for most of it, and I think they still probably would have had a solid chance at winning. I mean, they won 31-20, but that is a tough place to be morale-wise, and so that does say a lot about Mountain Vista, which we'll talk about in a bit. But for Chaparral, I mean, they just couldn't get anything going on offense in that second half. They were looking for some splash plays that they were just off the mark on, and they just couldn't put together too many more drives. On defense, Ariana Akey definitely ran it a little bit more, and I mean, once she starts running and then they're in a rhythm and Mountain Vista's going hurry up, that is an extremely difficult offense to stop. Extremely difficult. So there just wasn't much that defense could do, and it's a good defense for sure. I mean, this is a defense that gave so many other teams issues here throughout the season, and so for them to struggle at times and even then challenge Mountain Vista, it wasn't like Mountain Vista was splashing it down the field 50 yards at a time. They made them work for some of those drives. They just could not respond on offense, and I think that was key to this loss. Now, it wasn't a bad loss here. Obviously, they blew the lead, but I think this is definitely a loss you could learn from, and a potential second matchup could be very interesting, is all I'm saying there. So we'll see there. But let's go ahead and talk about Mountain Vista here. Very slow start. Couple drops there. Just weren't quite on the same page on offense. On defense, it felt like they were reeling just a little bit. And it wasn't because they were like super out of position, but I would probably say it was more because they missed a lot of flagpoles. Sophia O'Donnell was putting in a lot of work here. In the second half, she still, had some solid plays, but not as much, as they really clamped down on that in the second half. But let's talk about Mountain Vista in the second half here. Defensively, I mean, they had a shutout in the second half. They played great. There were a couple plays that Chap missed that would have changed that for sure, where they were just slightly out of positioning there. But at the end of the day, they held them to 0 points, and you gotta love that. And then for the offense, I mean, they went hurry up, and this offense was lightning quick in hurry up. I mean, like, this was a very difficult to take a video and then write down notes about what happened and whatnot. It was extremely difficult, and I've been at this for about 4 years here, and so I think that's just a testament to how fast this offense could get you once they start rolling. And they could beat you in a couple different ways. Ariana Akey being a dual threat alone is tough, right? Because she's somebody that could also throw for 50 yards and then gash you for 50 yards on the ground, just running it. And then you add on some other receivers like a Braylon Looney, who has very sure hands, and she's tough. She's going to make contested catches. That's just what it is. You have the Riveras, Liana Rivera, Riley Rivera, just to name a few there. You also have Valent, who made some very big plays in this game. I mean, you got a lot of playmakers here for Mountain Vista, and so it gets to be really tough. Serena Reeder had a great game here in this game, so it becomes very tough to stop all those players at once here. And I mean, you could make adjustments and start playing them closer, but I do think that opens it up for some deep shots, and you can't exactly go man because you got to put somebody on Akey, and so there's no safety help from there, and that makes things very complicated. And so I digress. This Mountain Vista team's very good. I think this game solidified a couple awards here. I'm not going to lie. This was a signature game for this team here, and I'm not going to say they look unbeatable, because they definitely struggled in that first half, and I think there's some things that some certain other teams in that top 3 or 4 can do to exploit that a little bit more here. But they're in a pretty good spot, I will say that. They're in a very good spot here. They played Thunder Ridge and Ralston Valley after this. Don't get me wrong, 2 teams who make the playoffs. I don't know if either are better or more well-rounded than Chap. We'll see what happens there. But Mountain Vista is in a position to go potentially 15-0. And I think at this point, if they go 15-0, they for sure get the number 1 seed. Any losses to Thunder Ridge and Ralston Valley would definitely risk that 1 seed for them there. So we'll see what happens here. But, you don't get to say this every day, but that Mountain Vista football program over there, boys and girls, are currently undefeated. I believe they are a combined 19-0, as the boys are 6-0 and the girls are obviously 13-0 after this game. And they just might have the two best quarterbacks in the entire state in Austin Modreski and Ariana Akey. And I think that is something that other programs should fear here. But for now, Mountain Vista, they get another win here, a well-earned win on Monday night, winning 31-20 over Chaparral. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the other games that we were not able to go to here in Week 7. Let's start with October 1st, Tuesday here. On this day, G-Dub, George Washington, would play Denver East, and they would win a big one here, 48-6 over Denver East. Thomas Jefferson would then play Vista Peak here, and they would win 20-6 here. No stats for TJ, but for Vista Peak, we have a couple. Anna Smith, the senior, 9 of 18 for 140 passing yards, 1 touchdown to 2 picks. Also had 41 rushing yards. Uriah Owens had 9 carries for 91 yards, but that would not be enough to take down Thomas Jefferson in that game. Pomona would, I think they were scheduled to play Arvada, but this looks like a forfeit here as Pomona gets this one, I believe, 2-0. Northfield would play Denver North in a close one here. That would end up going to overtime as both teams scored 14 in the fourth quarter. But in overtime, Northfield would get the PAT to win this one. In this game, Ali Garcia for Northfield, the junior, would go 12 of 20 here, 12 of 20 for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but also had a rushing touchdown and 55 yards here. On the other end of a lot of those receptions was the freshman number 9, that is Caroline Cummings, who had 5 receptions for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then on defense, Freya Erickson, the senior, had 3 sacks for them as Northfield survives Denver North, and kind of a big win for them, 21-20. TCA would then play Air Academy into league play here, and this would not be close. TCA bounces back with a big 33-0 win. Kelsey Peterson, 12 of 22, 243 yards, 5 touchdowns in this game here. On the other end of a lot of those touchdowns, Reagan Harder, 3 receptions for 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brooklyn Blair, 3 for 47 and a touchdown. Brinley Measy here, 3 for 24 and a touchdown. And then Madeline Mork, 2 for 12 and a touchdown as TCA wins big. Moving on, Denver South plays Rangeview here, and they win this one 14-6 over Rangeview. Denver East would then take their turn and blow out Kennedy 32-6. Bruce Randolph plays Vista Peak, and this would be a close one as Vista Peak wins by 2 here, 22-20. This time it would be the freshman taking the majority of the pass attempts in this one, I believe. That's Genesis Luevanos, the freshman, who went 7 of 17 for 95 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Uriah Owens, though, had 157 rushing yards and a touchdown. Clint Robinson had a 20-yard rushing touchdown as Vista Peak beats Bruce Randolph by 2 in this one. Thomas Jefferson would then beat Bruce Randolph in a close one as well, 18-13, so tough losses by Bruce Randolph, all under 7 points. Elizabeth would then win a close one against Air Academy, 7-6 here. Elizabeth scoring that touchdown and PAT in the fourth quarter for them. It looked like Abigail Monchak got the majority of the snaps at quarterback, 1 of 7 for 15 yards. As far as carries go, though, Gwen Hackett had 6 carries for 87 yards in this game. Gwen Hackett also had a 15-yard receiving touchdown, and then Tia Vernon with a nice interception as Elizabeth wins a close one, 7-6 in league play. Speaking of league play, Evergreen plays Pomona here, and they win a close one, 14-6. Addison McEvers, 17 of 22, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also had 62 rushing yards. Fionuala Hart, I want to say, the senior, had 89 rushing yards, and then Hart also had a receiving touchdown, and Ellie Buenning had 5 receptions for 51 yards and a receiving touchdown as Evergreen takes down Pomona by 8. Then it looks like Evergreen got a forfeit win against Arvada, so there you go there. That's 2 wins for Evergreen. Then Grandview would play Overland, and they would blow them out 46-14 here. Brooks Sullivan, 11 of 16, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kenzie Dodd had 6 carries for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tierra Goodgain, 5 for 24 and a touchdown as they contributed to that one. Sanaya Vaughn, the junior for Overland, 8 of 10, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Leslie Napier was their lead receiver, 2 for 95 and a touchdown, but they would fall short to Grandview 46-14. And so there you go there. That'll wrap up the Wednesday or Tuesday games. Let's go to the Wednesday games here where we had a number of good ones. Douglas County faces off with Thunder Ridge in this game, and Douglas County wins big 34-12. Jillian Cabral, the junior, 14 of 25, 144 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, also had 24 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown there. As far as receiving goes, her lead receiver was Nevaeh Goebel, who had 1 50-yard reception for a touchdown, and then Addison Limp right behind her with 5 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown, as Douglas County wins a big one over an underrated Thunder Ridge squad. Rock Canyon would then play Ponderosa, and they would blow them out 31-13. Eagle Crest would play Cherokee Trail, and they would take care of them 30-0 here. For Eagle Crest freshman, I believe this is Macelyn Kearing, went 25 of 44 for 233 yards, 4 touchdowns to only 1 pick there. Bailey Hervey, the freshman, the standout for them, 8 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown. Naomi Emachetta, 4 for 43 and 2 touchdowns, and Layla Medeiros, I want to say, had a receiving touchdown as well, as Eagle Crest takes care of CT. Thornton would play Aurora Central and win a close one against them, 7-6 here. Obviously, you had this Mountain Vista versus Heritage game. Unfortunately, this one was not super close here. Mountain Vista winning 37-6 here over a Heritage. No stats for Mountain Vista, unfortunately, at least listed in this one. But for Heritage, Abby Nichols, 15 of 28, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Also 172 rushing yards. Jillian Taylor was her lead receiver, 5 for 114 and a touchdown in that one. But they would fall short to Mountain Vista, as Mountain Vista remained undefeated in that one. Then it looks like Gateway forfeited to Mountain Range, so Mountain Range gets the win there. Arapahoe plays Smoky Hill, and they would get back in the winning column, winning 25-13. Whitney Folger, 4 of 13, 25 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Riley Kelly, 1 of 2 for 15 yards and a touchdown in that one. Folger, though, 105 rushing yards. Kelly, 65 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. As far as receiving goes, Alexa LaDuff, 2 for 20 and a receiving touchdown, and then Lizzie Padilla with that receiving touchdown there. Padilla also had 14 tackles, as Arapahoe wins a big one, 25-13. Denver West would play Aurora Central, or sorry, not Aurora Central, Aurora West, Aurora West College Prep Academy here, and they would win. Denver West would win 18-0 over them. North Glen plays Horizon, and North Glen wins 16-6. Sydney Reese, 11 of 21, 56 yards, no touchdowns listed passing wise, and 1 interception there, but she would have a rushing touchdown there, plus 51 rushing yards. Here it does say Evelyn Hymas received a touchdown, so there you go there. For Horizon, Sophia DeAnnie, the sophomore, went 6 of 10 for 103 yards, 1 touchdown to 2 picks. Also had 21 rushing yards. Henley Holly had that lone receiving touchdown for them, but they would fall short to North Glen. Legend would then play Regis Jesuit and shut them out 33-0 here. Maddie Smolin playing in this one, 15 of 26, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. As far as receiving goes, Ava Gavi, very active in this one, 6 for 95 and a receiving touchdown. And then on defense, Janine Norton, 6 sacks in this one. Ava Gavi with 2 picks, Raya Matouche with a pick, and Molly Larson with a pick, as Legend takes care of Regis Jesuit 33-0. Chaparral would then play Highlands Ranch and beat them 33-6 here. Zoe Fink, 28 of 34, 227 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. She also had 75 rushing yards. Paige Fink 143 rushing yards and a touchdown in this one. Sydney Matthews was the lead receiver, 8 for 75 and a touchdown. Jamie Baum right behind her, though, 7 for 45 and 2. For Highlands Ranch here, their senior quarterback, that would be Catherine Apotheker, went 13 of 20 for 88 yards here. Addison McLeod had 9 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown, but they would fall short to Highlands Ranch. Moving on to Thursday here, I would see the 2 games that would happen here versus Doherty, or with Doherty versus Vanguard, and Doherty versus Colorado Springs Christian. Make sure you check those out, those recaps out when you can. And then Colorado Springs Christian would play Vanguard after both, and CSCS would win 14-12 over Vanguard. Moving on to Friday, only 3 games here, but Rock Canyon would play Regis Jesuit and win a close one, 21-19, a big win for Rock Canyon there. Denver North would then play Bruce Randolph, and this looks like a close one, but North would win 34 to Bruce Randolph's 25. Overland would play Mountain Range, and they would get past them and win 25-20 here. Sanaya Vaughn, 10 of 13, 35 yards, 1 pick. She would also have 115 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Joy Jamison, the freshman, with a 35-yard rushing touchdown in that one. There in that effort. For Mountain Range, Linda Archuleta, the junior, 10 of 20, 126 yards, 3 passing touchdowns there, 2 of those going to Delilah Lucero, who had 3 for 36 and 2 touchdowns. But Mountain Range would fall short as Overland would win 25-20 here. It looks like that Joy Jamison rushing touchdown would be the big one for them to put them over. Moving on to Saturday, October 5th, we have a number of games, so many games to talk about in this one, and some key games at that. We got Denver East versus Vista Peak, and Denver East beats them 30-0 in this one. For Vista Peak, Anna Smith, 8 of 16, 100 yards, 3 picks in a tough one. Also had 88 rushing yards, but not enough to take down Denver East as they fall 30-0. Mullen would go ahead and beat Eagle Crest in kind of a tough one, 12-7 here. Mullen scoring 6, or I guess they would score early and then scores 6 in the 4th to close this one out. Eagle Crest's lone touchdown coming in the 4th. For Mullen here, Steffi Thomas, 7 of 20 for 82 yards and 1 interception. Aaliyah Garcia with 6 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. And then number 22, the junior for them, that is Mary Jane Archibald, had a rushing touchdown for them in this win. On defense here, Sarah Garner with a sack, Junzi Jones with a pick, and Jane Roth with a pick each. For Eagle Crest here, Macelyn Kearing, the freshman, 37 of 55. Jeez, 55 pass attempts here for 209 yards and 1 interception. As far as receiving goes, on the end of a lot of those receptions was Naomi Emachetta, 10 for 96, and then Bailey Hervey here, who went 10 for 52. The lone touchdown receiver there was Ariana Gooster for Eagle Crest as they lose a tough one, 12-7. Manual would beat Northfield in a close one, 14-12 here. It looks like they played 2 different quarterbacks. Here's Anaya Hall, who went 2 of 6 for 1 touchdown and 2 picks, the junior, and then Kaylee Walker, the freshman, who went 7 of 19 for 56 yards and a pick. Hall had 19 rushing yards, Walker had 60, and then Deja Fox, 6 of 37 for a touchdown in this game. For Northfield here, it looks like Ali Garcia, the junior, got the majority of the snaps at quarterback, 6 of 10 for 55 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks, and then Mia Sutton went 5 of 7 for 20 yards and a touchdown and a pick in this one. Garcia also having 25 yards, and then Olivia Baseman grabbing that lone receiving touchdown for them as they lose a tough one, 14-12. Rangeview, though, wins a big one over G-Dub, 18-8. Lincoln would play Kennedy, and they would beat them by a lot here, 39-2 in this game. Moving on here, we have Denver West versus Denver East here. A little battle of Denver going on. And Denver West would take them down 20-8 in a nice win there. Grandview would then shut out Smoky Hill 33-0. Brooke Sullivan, 9 of 17, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception there. Also had 15 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Their lead receiver was Mackenzie Rigsby, the senior, 2 of 49 for a touchdown. And then Sadie Perry led in receptions, 4 for 32 in a 33-0 Smoky Hill win here. Also, 2 picks by Brooke Sullivan in this game as well. Vista Ridge wins a big one over Rock Canyon, 24-0. You got to remember, Rock Canyon literally the night before beat Regis Jesuit. So this is a big one in RPI for VR as they win 24-0 here. At quarterback, their senior, that would be Josadira Gonzalez playing quarterback for them here. Won 6 of 10 for 48 yards, but it was Brooklyn Kaiser who had herself a game. 7 carries, 157 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns as she could not be stopped there. Kristen Quinn with 7 tackles, also 3 sacks, and then Josadira Gonzalez had 2 sacks. Ashley Guayo had a pick, I believe that's a pick 6. Brooklyn Kaiser also had a pick 6, and then Sydney Bauer had 2 picks as Vista Ridge dominates this one against Rock Canyon 24-0. That'll definitely help them in the rankings. Douglas County would then go ahead and play Ponderosa here, and they would win kind of a close one, 21-18. No stats listed for either in this game. Rangeview would then beat Thomas Jefferson 12-6 here, and then Denver South would beat Northfield 20-8. Their 2 touchdowns here were receiving touchdowns by Asha Daniels. Yeah, sorry. 2 of their 3 touchdowns were receiving touchdowns by Asha Daniels, the junior, who had 4 receptions for 55 yards, and then Marley Witso, 4 receptions for 55 and a receiving touchdown. This defense also had 5 sacks here, which was big time for them. For Northfield here, Ali Garcia, 5 of 12, 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and then Mia Sutton, 8 of 16 for 50 yards. An interesting little 2 quarterback set there for Northfield. And then, by the way, Isadora Puckett, 5 for 24 and a receiving touchdown, their lone touchdown on the day against them. Vista Peak would then play Denver West here, and this would be another close game where Denver West would win 20-18. A good win for them. Vista Peak, I believe, losing kind of another close one here. Looking at the stats, Anna Smith, 7 of 16, 148 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Mariah Owens had 19 carries for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the junior for them, Vasquez de Leon, had 6 receptions for 142 yards and a touchdown. But that was not enough to beat Denver West. Pomona, though, would beat Green Mountain in a big one here in some league play, 19-10. No stats for Pomona as of right now, but for Green Mountain, a couple different players playing quarterback. Chloe Verbeek got in there, went 9 of 21 for 127 yards, but 4 picks thrown. Avery Friedman had 22 attempts as well, but went 11 of 22 for 122 yards, 1 touchdown to a pick, as they just kind of struggled there. They weren't really able to run the ball either, so that's rough. Kara Harris, the senior, was their lead receiver with 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. And then Marissa Van Gilder, the freshman, 8 receptions for 114 yards. This defense, though, had 6 sacks. Trotter with 1, Harris with 1, Kalani with 1, Sylvia Emmons with 2, and then Julia Schaefer had 2 picks. But that was not enough to beat Pomona, who scored 12 in the second quarter, and then another 7 in the third to match Green Mountain's 8 in the third. And they would not look back in this game, winning a big one for them here as far as rankings go in 4A. Now, Valor Christian would then play Chatfield here, and this game looks a little bit closer than what it was. Valor Christian was up 14-7 here at half. Chatfield would score 12 in the fourth, but would come short here. Valor Christian would win this one 34-19. Some stats here. Faith Prinzo, the junior, 18 of 23, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. Sophia Barr, the junior, 5 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown. Prinzo also had 8 carries for 60 yards. As far as receiving goes, Alexis Wood with a big-time game, 9 receptions for 155 yards and a touchdown. Sophia Barr, 2 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown. And then Ellie Johnson, 3 for 23 and 2 touchdowns. Margot Harry with 5 sacks in this game. And then Reese Beezer adding on another pick as Valor Christian takes down Chatfield in this game. Denver South will then take care of Manual 34-6 here. Speaking of South, it doesn't look like their stats are complete, I don't think. But Dylan Moyer had 5 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. And then Alex Fort had 4 for 40 and 2. And then Asha Daniels with the receiving touchdown as well in this effort to win. For Manual, Kaylee Walker was the lone quarterback here, but won 6 of 28 for only 50 yards and 2 picks. Did have 98 rushing yards and a touchdown, but that would not be enough as South runs away with this one. Mountain View would then play Ponderosa and blow them out 55-0. This was 41-0 at half here. Mason Premer, another great game, 12 of 18, 184 yards, 4 touchdowns. Kendall Finley, 4-4 for 54 yards and a touchdown. And then Michaela Macias, 3 of 3 for 14 yards and a touchdown. Reese Peterson had a rushing touchdown. Violet Hidalgo had 2 touchdowns. Michaela Macias had 1. Jessica Hopkins had 2. And then Kendall Finley had 1 as they take care of Ponderosa and shut them out 55-0. George Washington would then beat Thomas Jefferson 35-6. Overland would kind of survive one against Cherokee Trail and win 13-6 over them. Sanaya Vaughn, 8 of 10 for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had a rushing touchdown in this one. Joy Jameson, 8 receptions for 98 yards and a touchdown as Overland takes down Cherokee Trail. Arvada West would then play Ralston Valley in some Jeffco play here, and they would take care of them 47-12. Sailor Swanson, 33 of 39, 317 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Also had 66 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in this one here. As far as receiving goes, it looks like Molly Showpepper led in touchdowns, 6 for 67 and 3. Sarah Walker had 1. Katie Hufford had 1. On defense for them, it looks like they got 3 sacks from Alyssa Alberts, Alex Anto, and Lily McReynolds. And then Alyssa Alberts also had a pick. For Ralston Valley here, interesting enough here, no Zoe Zoll, which... I mean, there's defensive stats for her here. So it's just interesting. But Kaylin Corcus, the junior, got the snaps here and went 24 of 37 for 294 yards and 2 touchdowns here in this game. As far as receiving goes, Ashlyn Callahan, the junior, 9 receptions, 125 yards and a touchdown. Shelby Colosimo, the freshman, 2 for 66 and a touchdown. On defense for Ralston, Gracie Hodgson with 9 tackles. They only had 1 sack in this game. It says Zoe Zoll had 2 hurries and a pass deflection here as well. So interesting decision here. I don't know if that's an indicator moving forward, but Arvada West does win this one 47-12. Now Dakota Ridge would then play Evergreen here, and they would sneak by them, winning 13-6. No stats for Dakota Ridge, but for Evergreen, Addison McEvers, 11 of 26, 114 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Also had 48 rushing yards. Fionuala, the Hart, was their lead receiver with 5 for 35 and a touchdown as they lose just barely to Dakota Ridge 13-6. Legend would then play Horizon and would win in a close one here 21-12. Maddie Smolin, 16 of 29, 157 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Also had 64 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Ava Gavi, 3 of 52 and a receiving touchdown. Aislinn Corella had 3 for 33 and a receiving touchdown in that game for them. Janine Norton with 4 sacks here. And that Legend win. For Horizon, Sophia DeAnnie, the sophomore, 7 of 12, 131 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. DeAnnie had 18 rushing yards. Shea Padilla with 63 rushing yards. And Padilla also had 2 receptions for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns, but Legend would win this one 21-12. Valor Christian would then play Dakota Ridge, and this one was not close. Valor wins 32-7. Faith Prinzo got in there, 13 of 19, 227 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Very efficient game. Also had 66 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Savannah Prinzo, her sister, was the lead receiver in this game. 10 receptions, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ellie Johnson with a big 43-yard touchdown. Then Alexis Wood, 3 of 47 for a touchdown as Valor Christian takes care of Dakota Ridge. Ralston Valley would then play Green Mountain here, and Green Mountain would beat them 30-24, which is interesting. Still no Zoe Zoll. Kaylin Corcus, the junior, getting the snaps here at quarterback, who went 25 of 41, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns to 3 picks in this game. As far as receiving goes, Ashlyn Callahan, 5 receptions, 77 yards and a touchdown. Carmen Johnson, 8 receptions, 48 yards and a receiving touchdown. And then Shelby Colosimo, 3 for 23 and a touchdown in this game. Zoll is listed on defense here. It looks like she notched a hurry, so that's interesting there. Gracie Hodgson, 11 tackles in this game. Savvy Doherty, 3 sacks. This defense was kind of rolling. 8 interceptions here, but they lost this one 30-24, unfortunately. Carmen Johnson with 2, Emma O'Connor with 2, Gracie Hodgson with 1, Ashlyn Callahan with 3 in this one. But all in, unfortunately, a losing effort there as they could not quite put together enough for a win. And I just looked at the score tracker, but let me talk about Green Mountain stats real quick here. Interesting enough, still split between Chloe Verbeek and Avery Friedman here. Verbeek, 6 of 24 for 29 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 interceptions. Avery Friedman, 7 of 21, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Friedman with a rushing touchdown here. Marissa Van Gilder with a game, 4 receptions, 49 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This defense played well. As well, Ashlyn Bates with 2 picks, Julia Schaefer with a pick. I believe that might have been a pick 6 as well for Schaefer, if I'm not mistaken there. So that's pretty big time as Green Mountain wins 30-24. Green Mountain actually started this game 12-0. Ralston Valley would then score 18 in the third here to make it 18-12, but Green Mountain would outscore them 18-6 in the fourth to win this one. So very interesting game here. Not too many starters thrown in here though, so I don't know. I don't think you can hold that with a lot of weight. Then Chatfield, they would play Evergreen and they would blow them out 60-12. Cherry Creek would play Arapahoe and Cherry Creek would win this one big here, 40-0. After a little bit of a slow start, but they got rolling. For Cherry Creek, Addie Beck, 25 of 31, 239 yards, 5 touchdowns, also 36 rushing yards. As far as receiving goes, Jalen Nelson, 5 for 82 receiving yards. Sophia Ball, 9 receptions, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Molly Durigi, 5 for 36 and a touchdown there in this game, just to name off a few players. Durigi also had 2 picks, Ball with a pick, Jalen Nelson with 2 picks in this game. For Arapahoe, Whitney Folger, 10 of 24, 104 yards, no touchdowns, about 4 picks, which is unfortunate there. As far as receiving goes, Cadwalder here, 2 for 72 in this one. And then on defense, Taylor Bradley with 2 sacks as they fall to Cherry Creek. Moving on here, let's go ahead and get some Monday, October 7th. Just a handful of games here. We have Columbine versus Littleton, and they would win that one 20-6 in this game. Some stats here, their junior quarterback, that is Jordan Washington, went 14 of 28 for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, also 2 picks, but she had a rushing touchdown and 36 rushing yards to go with that. Their lead receiver was Ansley Leavitt, the senior, who had 3 for 96, and then Jazzy Dunaway had a touchdown, and it looks like Annalie Rapay had a touchdown in this game as well. As far as defense goes, Stella Paxson had 2 sacks and a pick, which was big time for the Rebels. For Littleton here, Ava Palmer, the freshman, 13 of 26, 91 yards, 1 pick. Ashley Plazola, though, had 5 carries for 43 yards and a rushing touchdown. Olivia May with 7 for 62 in this game. Olivia May also with 7 tackles in this one. Sarah Wilburn with 2 picks, but not enough to beat Columbine in this game. Rock Canyon would then play Highlands Ranch and take care of them 41-19. Eagle Crest would then play Overland, and Eagle Crest would blow them out 40-18 in this one. Mason Kearing, the freshman, 27 of 40, 130 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a pick in this game. But they were rolling. Desiree Burke, the freshman, had 2 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. Naomi Emachetta had 5 carries for 117 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. And then Bailey Hervey, 7 carries, 87 yards, and a rushing touchdown in this game, as Eagle Crest just takes care of Overland in this one here. Moving on to some more games from Monday. We do have some missing scores here. I don't know if these were just not, or if they were played on the wrong day and they were still listed on the wrong day, but just some missing scores. So let me go over those real quick. Air Academy was supposed to play 2 games, but those are missing. I think those are moved to later in the week, though. Bear Creek and Lakewood has a missing score. Vanguard and Pondo, I think, played at another time. North Glen gate weight forfeited to them, so there you go there. But getting back into the other games here, Arvada West would play Pomona, and they would beat them 42-0. Sailor Swanson, 21 of 28, 260 passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, also 26 rushing yards. Receiving-wise, Sarah Walker, 6 receptions, 97 yards, and the hat-trick, 3 receiving touchdowns in this game as they take care of Pomona 42-0. Cherry Creek would then play Mullen, and Creek would beat them 34-14. They would get out to a 27-0 lead at half, and then Mullen would score in the second half here, but this game was pretty much already over. Addie Beck, 20 of 25, 221 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, also 36 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown there. As far as receiving goes for Creek, Sophia Ball, 7 for 83 and a touchdown. Molly Durigi, 7 for 50 and 2 touchdowns, and then Ania Chambers had a 20-yard reception for a touchdown. For Mullen, Steffi Thomas kind of struggled in this one. 14 of 27, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns to 4 picks. She had 38 rushing yards there, though. Her lead receiver was Chloe Pauster. Only 2 receptions, though, for 43 yards as Creek beats Mullen 34-14. So there you go there. And then I believe Thornton would play Aurora West College Prep Academy again, and Thornton would win 44-0. And that should be it. So there you go there. That is your 2024 Week 7 Colorado Girls High School Flag Football recap of all the games we were not able to go to. Make sure you check out our game recaps of the ones we were able to go to, though, earlier on in the episode. All right, now talking about Playmaker of the Week here. A lot of great candidates as we get down the line here. But let's go ahead and start in 5A. And honestly, in 5A, we don't even have the stats, but it's really hard to deny it. Ariana Akey, the junior quarterback from Mountain Vista, scored every touchdown in that game against Chaparral, a team that was 12-0 and looking to potentially take away that 1 seed from them. At one point, they were down 20-6 at half, and then Akey just having a great second half. This team altogether having a great second half, but she really distributed the ball well there as they would win that one 31-20, which is absolutely insane there. So for the second time this season, your 2024 Week 7 Playmaker of the Week here in 5A is Mountain Vista's junior quarterback, Ariana Akey. Also, if I might add, this is the first time ever in podcast history where we have 2 Playmakers of the Week for both boys and girls football from the same school, also playing the same position, quarterback. So congrats Austin and Ariana Akey on 2 big wins this last week. Now in 4A, this one was a little bit harder here. We got to shout out Mason Premer, who went 3-0 in their games last week. They played Ponderosa, Legacy, and Douglas County, some solid teams there. And Premer just played some great football. But I think we gotta give this one to Vista Ridge's senior athlete, Brooklyn Kaiser, who contributed a lot to this big-time win over Rock Canyon that has risen Vista Ridge by a ton here. But Brooklyn Kaiser in this game went and got 7 carries for 157 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, also had a reception for 6 yards. And then on defense, she had 4 tackles, and then had an interception and 4 pass deflections. Also, I believe one of those interceptions was a pick 6 as a Vista Ridge would beat Rock Canyon 24-0. Like I said, a big game there considering Rock Canyon just beat Regis Jesuit the night before. So that was huge for their RPI and rankings here going into the playoffs. So there you go there. The 2024 Week 7 for a Playmaker of the Week is Vista Ridge's senior athlete, Brooklyn Kaiser. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the playoff picture, plus some key games here in this next week here, Week 8. Let's start with 4A. So, as of right now, with the seeding index that I was able to look up in the data that we have, this is updated as of October 8th, 6:30 p.m. I know there are some games going on Tuesday, so we are kind of in the middle of some of those, but this is what we have as of right now. Let me just go down the line here. Starting at number 1, we have Mountain View. At number 2 is TCA. At number 3 is Mullen. At number 4 is now Vista Ridge. At 5 is Green Mountain. 6 George Washington. 7 Evergreen. 8 Dakota Ridge. 9 Pomona. 10 is Elizabeth. 11 is their Academy. 12 here is Thornton. 13 is Denver West. 14 is Denver North. 15 is Highlands Ranch. 16, that would be Manual. 17 is Ellicott. 18 is Ponderosa, 19 is Colorado Springs Christian, and 20 is Littleton. If you want to check out the bracket that is available here with the seating index as of right now, go ahead and go to our social media on either Instagram or TikTok at Playmakers Corner, and you can take a look there. As of right now, Mountain View has a bye, TCA has a bye, Mullen has a bye, and Vista Ridge has now taken what would have been, I believe, Green Mountain's bye here, which is absolutely huge here. Just looking at some matchups here, so just some interesting ones right off the top of my head with this current seeding index. It has number 9 Pomona playing number 8 Dakota Ridge. That's a good matchup right there. For Green Mountain, they probably wouldn't face a huge challenge until potentially playing Vista Ridge here later in the bracket. Mullen also gets a pretty solid pull here. They probably wouldn't receive a real challenge until maybe G-Dub, maybe even until the Final Four with this current bracket at this point here. And then on TCA side of things, it's a little bit more difficult here. They probably wouldn't face a tough opponent until most likely Evergreen after their first playoff game. So just a couple key matchups that looked very interesting here in this projection. So definitely some moving around. I think the big loss here is Green Mountain having to play Thornton, who they should still probably win, but they're not having a bye now. And so that's kind of rough for them. Or sorry, not a bye. I don't think that's a bye. But they would all play in the second round. They would just obviously play the tougher opponent, the higher ranked opponent out of the two there. So still kind of rough there because the team they would be playing would not have played a game before. So, or sorry, yeah, would not have played a game before. So that's kind of just rough there. You want every advantage that you could get. Now, looking at all the games here in Week 8, we have some going down right now here, which could prove to be pretty important. For example, number 20 Littleton is currently playing Lakewood there. That's obviously a game that they could not afford to lose. As of right now, it looks like Denver North just blew out Kennedy 66-14, so that's huge there. Manual is currently at number 16. Rangeview isn't in a bad spot. I think they're on the cusp of the 5A playoffs here. Let me just double check here. If not, just barely. Yeah, they're on the cusp right now, so a loss to them wouldn't be bad, but that would put that put Manual in a pretty tough spot there. Now, Denver West, who is currently at 13, is playing number 22 Thomas Jefferson. If TJ could find a way to win that game, that would be absolutely huge for them. At the same time, right now, number 20 Littleton, I don't know if I already said this, but they're playing Bear Creek, and Bear Creek sitting at 25. A loss there for Littleton could be fatal. I don't know if that's enough for Bear Creek to potentially make the playoffs, though. So there you go. Moving on to October 9th, we have a couple big games here. Evergreen will be playing Ralston Valley. If that's anywhere close, then potentially, you know, that could mean Evergreen moving up. A win for Evergreen could maybe put them in contention to be in the top 4 there and play a team that has already played a game beforehand in that second round, and that would be absolutely huge for them. Vista Ridge then hosts Coronado in their pool play there for their league tournament. Vista Ridge currently sitting at 4. Coronado now just outside at 21. If Coronado could keep it close or maybe even win the game, but I think realistically keeping it close could really help their playoff hopes here. For Vista Ridge, a blowout or not a blowout against Coronado could mean them slipping back out of the top 4, which would be huge there. Mountain View, it looks like Aurora West College Prep Academy has already forfeited to them, so they have been awarded. They will be awarded with a win. I don't think that affects RPI at all. Lincoln will be playing Gateway. Gateway's at 28, so that probably impacts Lincoln more than anything, so we'll just move on. Green Mountain, though, plays Chatfield here. A Green Mountain win and potentially a Vista Ridge close win over Coronado, or something that I don't know, point difference wise, Green Mountain has a bigger point difference than Vista Ridge versus Coronado. That could be big time. That's something that if you are Vista Ridge, you kind of want to keep an eye on. If they beat Chatfield there, they will probably for sure move into the top 4 as of tomorrow. So that'll for sure be interesting. In addition, Coronado will be playing Elizabeth. Coronado currently sitting at 21, Elizabeth at 10. Any win Coronado could get is huge for them to secure a spot in the playoffs, as they are right at 21. A win here or a close game here would really help the resume, I would say. But I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if Coronado will have more games after this. So these 2 games are absolutely vital for them to make the playoffs. They got to either find a way to win or make it close. And then they got to hope for someone else from then on. Then we have Mullen versus Cherokee Trail. Unless Mullen just blows that one, then I don't think that will be a big game there. Thornton will also be playing tomorrow. They're now number 12 right now versus Legacy. I don't know if that impacts too much either, so there you go. Moving on here, let's go to Thursday, October 10th. TCA is holding some pool play there for their SoCo League tournament. They'll be playing Vanguard and Ellicott. I don't see them losing to either, and I don't think either of those games would dip them potentially. For Ellicott, you probably want to play TCA closer, and maybe you can move up, but too big of a blowout in that game could hurt Ellicott's chances, as they are kind of holding on right here at 17, so they just got to keep that in mind. Ponderosa will also be playing Regis Jesuit. If this could be a close game for Pondo, I think they may secure a playoff spot here. If this is a win, they're for sure making the playoffs, though, I think. But we'll see what happens in that game there. And then Manual will be playing Vista Peak. Manual currently at 16. Vista Peak here, a 5A team. I kind of think Manual could win this one. As long as this one doesn't swing too far one way or the other, they should be fine. Now, let's go ahead and go to October 12th here. There's only 3 games. We have Thornton versus Lincoln. Thornton currently at 12, Lincoln at 24. You cannot lose that game if you are Thornton. If you do, I think they probably still make the playoffs, but they significantly drop there. For Lincoln, maybe you might be able to sneak back in to the playoff conversation, but you'd have to win by probably more than a score. So we'll see what happens there. Doherty will then play Colorado Springs Christian here. Colorado Springs Christian's currently sitting at 19. I don't think they're going to win that one against Doherty, but if they can make it close, then they should be able to hold on there. And then Doherty will also play Air Academy, who is currently sitting at 11. If Air Academy could find a way to win that game, they would for sure probably enter the top 10 here. But I do kind of feel like as of right now, that is probably a little bit of a long shot. So we'll see. Now, on October 14th, it does say Air Academy has a couple games here. I don't think those are games that are going to happen since they're already playing earlier in the week. So there you go. Those are your 4A matchups to look out for here in Week 8. That should impact, winning for sure there. So there you go. Now, moving on to 5A, let me go ahead and pull up the bracket for them. As of right now, October 8th, 6:30 p.m., this is how the bracket looks like. And instead of just going down the line, I'm going to talk about matchups too. At number 1, your 1 seed is Mountain Vista. Currently, they would play the winner of Ralston Valley Regis Jesuit. That is definitely... I kind of feel like that is maybe a little bit of a tougher matchup than it looks, even though Regis is currently at 16, Ralston at 17 here. It could get interesting for sure, but I don't think Mountain Vista loses either of those. Definitely a little bit tougher than some of the other matchups they could pull, though. The winner of whoever wins Ralston and Regis and then Vista versus that winner would end up playing Thunder Ridge versus Douglas County. Thunder Ridge at 9, Douglas County at 8. And then you have, moving on here, at 5, Legend, who would play number 12, Heritage, which would be pretty big. Cherry Creek would not play a team there, obviously, in that first round. They would play the winner of Grandview versus Rock Canyon. Grandview currently at 13, Rock Canyon at 20. That is a very favorable matchup there for Creek, in my opinion. But then they would have to face the winner of Legend versus Heritage. That could get a little tricky there as well. In the 3 seed right now is Arvada West. Currently, they would play the winner of Northfield versus Chatfield. And then after that game here, they would play the winner of Doherty versus Chaparral potentially, which is interesting. Chaparral currently dropping a couple of spots with their loss here to Mountain Vista, so that definitely impacts, some of the matchups here. Doherty, they're an athletic squad. They would have to play them, and then they would probably have to play most likely Arvada West in the next round, which is a rough matchup if you're Chaparral. Then moving on here, North Glen would play Denver South. North Glen at 7, Denver South at 10. And then Valor Christian is your number 2 seed here. They would play the winner of number 15 Horizon and number 18 Columbine here. Valor Christian, though, with a pretty favorable side of this bracket. They would have to play the winner, obviously, of Horizon versus Columbine, but they probably still win that one. And then they'd have to play most likely North Glen, either then or Denver South, which I would still give to Valor. So that would almost give them a very favorable matchup to the Final Four, where eventually they would have to play either Arvada West or most likely Chap in that one, and that is very difficult here. I think the key thing, though, looking at this bracket, is that A West and Cherry Creek are on different sides here. Cherry Creek is on the side of Mountain Vista, and honestly, though, even though Mountain Vista is the 1 seed, they do face kind of tougher opponents than you'd expect a 1 seed to face. Ralston Valley and Regis both feel better than 17 and 16 there. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these last games of the regular season unfold to change that, because that's definitely not the cakewalk, or at least not the same level of a number 2 Valor having to face either Horizon or Columbine. So we'll see what happens there, but that is what the 5A bracket looks as of right now. Remember, you could go to Playmakers Corner on Instagram or TikTok and check that out here. But let's talk about some key games here. Also looking at the CHASA seeding index as well while we do so. But Tuesday, as in today, October 8th here, Legend currently just beat Rock Canyon 41-20. That's big for Legend there. So there you go. I think that was taken in account when these RPI rankings were updated at 6:30, so there you go there. Northfield beats Denver East 36-12. Northfield currently is in 4A, I believe, and then Denver East, they're 6-5, but they're now 26th overall, so that's definitely rough. Cherry Creek, they would go ahead and blow out Grandview 40-6. That's big time. That continues to secure their spot here in the top 4, which is big because you want to play a team that has already played another playoff game in these matchups here. So there you go there. Rangeview already played Manual. It says the score is missing, but Rangeview is currently sitting just outside at number 21, and they're 8-4. 4-9 Rock Canyon is in front of them, so that's a big game. They have to win every game from here on out for a good chance to make it. And then you have number 10, Denver South, then playing Smoky Hill. That should probably be a win for them, but that's also a missing score. Then it says Columbine is supposed to play a game, but I think that was from their league games on Saturday, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. Moving on to tomorrow, October 9th, we got some very interesting matchups that should definitely shake up a lot here. But we have Ralston Valley playing Evergreen in this game. Ralston Valley sits at 17, a lot closer to the edge than you would have thought here. So I think winning this game could definitely move them up higher and put them in a safer spot. I don't know if they're in danger of missing the playoffs yet, but it might be by a very slight margin, so we'll just have to see there. I'd be surprised if they did, though. Then we have Horizon at number 15 playing Aurora Central, unless that is just like a very unexpected score there. That probably won't shake anything up. Then we have Overland here, who's at number 25 playing Smoky Hill. Overland needs to have some help, and they need a win out for them to make the playoffs, so that's big for them. Chatfield then plays Green Mountain. Chatfield sitting at 14 here. I don't think a loss would dip them out of the playoffs here, but a win would definitely shoot them up higher, which could give them a more favorable matchup. Then we have Arvada West playing Valor Christian at 5:30. That is number 2 Valor versus number 3 Arvada West. This is pretty easy here. The winner of this gets to move up. Like I said, when talking about the bracket as of right now, that number 2 seed is very favorable with the current matchup. So I think if you're A West, you obviously want to win that one. For Valor, you want to keep that too. So big, huge matchup right there. So there you go. Then we have number 7 North Glen. They're going to play Mountain Range. Unless they lose that one, that probably won't matter. Then we have Legacy. They will play Thornton here. Legacy's sitting at 24. I don't know if they have enough juice to make the playoffs. They would have to win out. Thornton, I believe, is currently a playoff team in 4A, so they would have to win out. And even then, I don't know. Then we have Eagle Crest versus Arapahoe here. This is where things get interesting. Arapahoe is currently at 22. You know, earlier this morning when I checked, they were at 20, so they have slid a couple of spots here. But Eagle Crest is right behind them at 23. Arapahoe has to win out for them to have their best chance of making the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to make it if they win out, but they have to win out. Losing either this game or the next one I'll talk about later here might be the dagger in their season, unfortunately, and their playoff hopes. So we'll see. Then we have number 1 Mountain Vista versus number 9 Thunder Ridge. This could be viewed as a trap game, I think. And, I mean, if Mountain Vista loses this late in the season, I don't know if they have enough juice to regain the 1 seed. Maybe RPI helps them. Maybe Max Prep's rankings help them. But I think losing a game this late, it does not give them enough time to potentially recover here, especially to a team that is not in the top 5. So we'll see what happens there. Then we have number 6 Chaparral. They would be playing Douglas County here, who is currently at number 8. Chaparral, I mean, they really cannot afford a slide here. Only losses to number 1 Mountain Vista. I think if they could beat a Douglas County, they could potentially move back into the top 5 here, but they would have to beat him. You know, they'd have to beat them to move back in. So we'll see what happens. If they lose to them, then they will continue to slide here, and that's just very unfortunate, as that would be 2 losses in 1 week. That would make them going from a top 4 team to an outside a top 5 team at that point. Then we have Heritage versus Legend. Heritage at 12. Legend currently at 5 here. Legend, I mean, for them to move up into one of those top 4 spots, they have to continue to win. And Heritage, I don't think they're a pushover here. I think this is a really key game for Legend, and they gotta win for them to even have a chance at a top 4 spot. For Heritage, if they win, I think they're top 10. Plain and simple there. And then it has Ralston Valley listed playing another game, but they're already playing Evergreen. We'll see what happens there, though. I don't know if that changes, so we'll see. Moving on to October 10th here, we have North Glen playing Northfield here. North Glen currently at 7. Northfield kind of on the edge at 19. I think I didn't say that they were a 5A team, but they are. They're at 19 right now. Denver East that they just beat is at 26. And so Northfield, they gotta, if they want to have a little bit more, you know, space and breathing room here and to potentially secure a playoff spot, a win over North Glen would do that. If Northfield beats North Glen, then North Glen would probably not be top 10 anymore. And so North Glen, they got to win this game as well. Then we have Regis Jesuit versus Ponderosa. Regis is currently at 16. They cannot afford a loss to Ponderosa here. A loss there could open some things up here. You already have Ralston Valley and Columbine, Northfield, and Rock Canyon, not to mention 8-4 Rangeview. And then you have Arapahoe just behind them. A loss there for Regis Jesuit could drop them significantly. So we'll see what happens there. Then we have Manual versus Vista Peak. I sorry, that's not going to matter too much. That matters more for Manual than anything. And then, yeah, I think those are the only games that really matter there. Aurora Central plays Mountain Range, but a win for either wouldn't put them in the playoff picture. And in fact, I think they're both just outside right now. So there you go. Now, on Friday, there's a banger of a game on October 11th, and that is Legend versus Chaparral here. Legend currently at number 5, Chaparral now at 6, sliding after that loss to Mountain Vista. This is a game that both teams need. Adding on a fact that this is a rivalry game and there's a lot of momentum, I wish this game was not at 3:30 because I would be there, but for some reason it is at 3:30, which is such a waste of a great matchup. But I digress. For both teams, this is a key game. If they want to have a top 5 spot or even have a chance at a top 4 spot, have to win. Not need to win, have to win for sure. So there you go there. Now moving on to October 12th here, Doherty plays a couple games against Colorado Springs Christian and Air Academy. A loss to either would definitely drop them a little bit. Maybe not out of the playoffs here, but they cannot afford to lose those games, even if they're close as well. So there you go. Valor, they play Smoky Hill, unless there's just a big shock there. I don't think that one will matter too much. Rangeview, though, will then play Denver East. I don't know if that helps them move up, but if you are Rangeview, and I said this last week, have to win every game from here on out. A loss to Denver East might end their playoff hopes there, especially when you got teams like Arapahoe knocking on the door, and we're about to talk about their matchup here, and you have Rock Canyon potentially that might drop out. They have to win here. They just have to win. So there you go. Now for Arapahoe, this is their last game of the season, regular season that is, and this is their biggest game of the season. Currently, Arapahoe sits at 22, Rock Canyon sits at 20. If Arapahoe beats Eagle Crest, they would have fended them off for now, and then they would have number 20 Rock Canyon right here. If they could beat Rock Canyon, that could be enough to put them in the playoffs. Barely, just barely. But there is also a scenario where Rangeview just absolutely blows out Denver East. This game ends up becoming close, and then Rangeview gets a slight edge. So for Arapahoe, not only do you have to win this game, but if possible, you got to win by more than one score to potentially secure a playoff spot. Where it gets complicated. But if you lose this one, then it's all over, I think, most likely. So, not to be dramatic or anything, but this is what it comes down to right there. So we will see what happens right there. Then we have Thunder Ridge versus Chatfield here. Going to Monday's games, October 14th. We have Thunder Ridge versus Chatfield. Thunder Ridge at 9, Chatfield at 14. I kind of feel like both these teams are in a very similar spot, but a win here would mean pretty significant differences in their matchups. So another big win, potential win for them. Then we have number 1 Mountain Vista versus number 17 Ralston Valley. Ralston Valley, I really don't feel like they're going to fall out of the playoff hunt here this late. But, I don't know. I don't think this game would make them fall out of the playoff hunt here. If anything, if they could keep it close, if they could make it competitive, they could rise up here and get a maybe more favorable matchup here instead of a earlier trial by fire, I would say. So, oh my goodness. It is heating up, for sure. It is getting exciting out here, for sure. So a lot of key games to look out for, but that is your 5A playoff picture and some key games there for Week 8. All right, now thank you so much for rocking with us. That's the episode here. Things are heating up as we're getting into the last weeks of the regular season and definitely focusing on the playoffs more here. Pretty soon here, myself and Gino and some of the other guys will be finalizing awards here and finalists. So if you have stats, feel free to send them our way. We will always take them. I had a parent come up to me last night and ask if I'd like stats. I will never say no to them. So if you have them, just go ahead and send them to us at Playmakers Corner, or you could DM them to me personally at Simon.Villanoz on Instagram. I will appreciate that. But we are going to be most likely jumping around to a couple of girls flag football games, trying to see some matchups here and see some teams before we hit playoffs. So just be on the lookout for some updates on Instagram for games and stuff that we might pop by on. And then make sure you check out our TikTok at Playmakers Corner. We are posting a bunch of highlights there. All the games we talked about, we should have some highlights from those matchups. So make sure you check them out. But thank you so much for rocking with us. My name is Simon Villanoz, aka Coach V. This is October 8th, 2024. Your Week 7 2024 Colorado Girls High School Flag Football recap is now over, and we'll see you next week.